right. I'm not sure if it's just me. I can't hear any volume. Can we get some volume, please, Sabrina?
No. Yeah.
Perfect. Disappeared again. Loving the mashup remix here.
Because I could listen to it all evening.
Thank you. Nothing should stop us from trying. remember, love conquers all. Everything.
Good afternoon, and welcome everyone once again. What a fantastic song. And you'll all be hearing more about it later on during the actual session. Great. So, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, that's around about the third time I'm saying good afternoon. For those of you who've joined us, late starters, very warm welcome to you and very good afternoon for wherever you are, nationally, internationally, globally. This is a global event because what we're about to experience today is a global experience. So, my name is Dwayne Brown. I'm the co-host from the Islington Black History Working Group this afternoon. I'll be co-hosting with my very good esteemed colleague, Pauline Foster, and she'll say a bit in a few moments. Okay. What a wonderful evening. And tonight, this evening, we're celebrating the African and Caribbean nurses throughout the history and their contribution to Britain's health services long before 1948. This is a chance to validate and hear their stories and many journeys. Bringing everyone together is the vision of the Nubian Jack Community Trust, a commemorative Black and sculpture scheme focused on memorizing the historic contribution of Black and minority people in Britain and known for its collaborative work with communities and individuals. And in particular, it is the idea of its founder, Dr. Jack Bueller, who has worked tirelessly in a collaborative, sometimes electric and multifaceted way to demonstrate how heroic and ordinary peoples can live really and to explicitly show the African and Caribbean contribution to public life. The African and Caribbean Nurses and Midwives initiatives involves a public awareness campaign single, a commemorative statue, a groundbreaking anthology, and a whole host of forthcoming activities, including workshops, exhibitions, and seminars where these nurses' stories will be heard.
Over to me now, Dwayne. Thank you, thank you. So, hello, good evening. My name is Pauline Foster. I'm 1/5 of the member of the Black History Working Group, a group that is primarily trying to rewrite the narrative within Islington boundaries and nationally as well. So let's start at the beginning. So a bit of an introduction about Dr. Jack Bueller. He's an innovative force behind the Nubian Jack Community Trust Phenomenal. He's a designer, longtime cultural activist, artist, author, and a former recording artist at that. And also adding to the bill, he was also a social worker. He's the creator of the award-winning board game Nubian Jack, which was introduced in 1994 to highlight some of the achievements of people of color. And this was a worldwide initiative also. And he also followed that up in 1998 with the publication of the Nubian Jack Book of the World Facts. In 2006, he established the Nubian Jack Community Trust. Thank you for doing that, Jack. Much appreciated. He's since installed 62 statues, commemorative plaques around the world in the UK. Jack Bueller has designed the African and Caribbean War Memorial, which is placed in Windrush Square in Brixton, which, you know, provides that tribute and that legacy to those regiments who fought in World War I and World War II of African and Caribbean descent. So, hi, Jack.
Hi, I don't recognize myself there. Goodness me. Did I do all of that? Why?
You did. You've been a busy man. So let me just bring you back to yesterday. I heard that you had a birthday. You celebrated an Earth Strong.
Definitely. I'm just fast approaching my 30s now, so I'm catching up to you, Pauline. But yeah, it was really wonderful. I'm not sure 4th of July is something to celebrate, but hey, it's my birthday, so yes, it's my birthday.
Brilliant. So happy belated. So did you receive a special gift yesterday?
I did. I
You want to tell us about that? Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, this is a world exclusive here, as if it's not scripted, this bit. Anyway, I received the very first edition of Nurse in a Nation, a book we hope will be a phenomenal contribution to the narrative of Black nurses and midwives. Ably assisted by a wonderful team, Dr. Margaret Busby, of course, and the irrepressible Miranda Pine and Kisheni and Olivia and so many people, Jacqueline, and this wonderful team effort. And here it is, Pauline. It's
excellent.
Excellent.
It's an amazing book.
You like the cover?
It's amazing. Very fitting for the purpose.
Very iconic.
Very iconic.
I believe the person who did the cover may be around. He could tell us a little bit about it. It's absolutely wonderful.
Excellent. So Jack, what we loved about the Nursing and Midwives project was the diversity behind it, of the talents of people who were involved. You had scholars, community activists, nurses, doctors, including community leaders, which was very eclectic and egalitarian and also democratic, I must say. So how did you coordinate all of these different aspects of the project? Tell us a little bit about your process.
I mean, we're very lucky that a lot of people wanted to contribute to this narrative, as you say, because it's a story that is receiving more and more interest, particularly in light of, the pandemic and the disproportional way it's affected Black nurses or Black NHS staff. So it was really great for all these wonderful different people, some of which are on the platform tonight, to contribute to this, as you say, eclectic masterpiece. I think it's going to go a long way, and I really can't take credit for. I did a lot of the compilation, but a lot of people also volunteered their services to the book, including Her Majesty. Her Majesty the Queen wrote a supportive letter, which makes up part of our introduction.
Amazing.
Her Majesty contributed to the book as well. Isn't it amazing? And may I just quickly say, Her Majesty did a very clever thing today, by the way. She did an amazing thing, Pauline. I don't know if many of our listeners know, but she awarded the NHS the George Cross, which is a wonderful PR move, if I may say so. Yeah, she actually did that. So
how timely is that, Jack? How timely is that?
Perfect. How perfect is that? So, and rightly so. She's done a great job, and they all deserve it. Black, white, Asian, and everybody. It's a wonderful way of acknowledging their contribution over the last 73 years, but in particular over the last 18 months.
Exactly, exactly. A lovely piece of endorsement there, I must say, from Her Majesty the
Yes.
Queen. So,
Yes.
Dwayne, can I just bounce it back to you, please?
Yeah, well, Jack,
Yes.
look, we really, I know you're making reference to, we've got a special guest online tonight.
Yes.
Mr. Mervyn Ware, is he there? Is Mr. Mervyn with us?
Is Mervyn
So
in the house?
if Mr. Mervyn is not in the house, and there might be one or two persons on the call today knows very well about Mr. Mervyn, very talented brother, I must say.
Yes, he is.
We don't appear to
Extremely.
have Mervyn, is it? Can I, before we bring in Mervyn, I'm just going to ask one of our esteemed colleagues to just like show the people in the house the crowdfunding webpage, show them how we're doing. This is a momentous and a legacy piece, right? So we all need to get behind it, really. Can I ask just my colleagues to just show the crowdfunding piece? So do donate, 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 donate. Get your credit card out, get your MasterCard out. We don't take cash, I'm afraid. Do we take cash, Jack, by the way? Do we take cash?
I think if you come around to my house, I take all sorts of forms of currency.
Well, there you go,
yes,
people.
Cash, gold rings, sovereigns, anything.
Well, there you go, people. Jack will take cash. So yes, now, but seriously, this is a legacy piece. It costs money. So, you know, we've seen a lot of crowdfunding over the years within the UK, nationally, whatever. This is no different. In fact, I would say this is different. This is so different because of the reasons behind this piece of work, this project itself. This is a legacy. So your donation is pretty much having a piece of that pie, of that legacy, really. So donate, donate. Can I ask once again, where are my colleagues in the place? Jack, we need to, here we are. Crowdfunding. So, right, is that me? Okay. So,
handsome man.
£7,000, that's where we're at. Jack, what's the figure we're aiming for?
We're aiming for £150,000, Dwayne, and we'd like to achieve that tonight. And I'd like to think all things are possible. But at least we're going to change that figure as it stands at the moment. So 150,000 is our target, and we've hit 87, which is we're over halfway. We've been promised, I'll let the people know, we've been promised some other donations. Arsenal Football Club, come on, you boys, have donated 5K, and we've had another £2,000 donated today as well. So that figure is going to change in the next few days.
Great, great stuff. Okay, let's share this video with our esteemed guests. Hopefully, after they've seen the various speeches or so from the various colleagues within this clip, it will actually influence them to do some crowdfunding.
Bit of sounds, Dwayne.
Can we have some sound? Can we maximize that as well, please?
Social change through equality and diversity. I chaired the campaign committee led by Jack to erect the African Caribbean War Memorial in Windrush Square on Windrush Day, 22nd of June. The memorial gave a high profile to thousands of Black soldiers who went unrecognized, fighting for the empire across the world wars. Now Jack campaigns for memorials to recognize nurses, even though it was planned before. The pandemic makes these particular memorial statues even more urgent. So I ask you to support Jack and his campaign for recognizing not only nurses, but in particular those of African Caribbean background. Remember, without nurses putting their lives on the front line, this pandemic could have been so much more worse. Please support the FundMe page. After all, everyone needs a nurse and everyone needs to be remembered.
My name is Dwayne Brown, and I work for Islington Council within our finance and resource team. I want to talk about the nurses that came here from African continent and the Caribbean. Let's remember they uprooted themselves, leaving their lives, their livelihoods back home to come to this country to sacrifice and provide that sacrifice and that important work for this country?
My name is Gus John. I'm a professor of education and I am a patron of the Nubian Jack Community Trust. And one of the major projects the Trust has been involved with in the last period is acknowledging the contribution that Black health practitioners have made to delivering health services in Britain. And I trust that people will continue to support it, fund it. It should not be necessary for us as a trust to be scrambling and scratching our heads as to how we would get money to pay for that monument outside Whittington Hospital.
Patrick Vernon, a social commentator, cultural historian, co-author of the Great Black Britons. But also, I've worked for the NHS for years, disputing and proper that we have this memorial, and it'd be really great to people to get behind this memorial to acknowledge the historical contributions of Black nursing in Britain.
Good afternoon, my name is Wilson. I'm also a visiting professor of religion and multiculturalism, and I am appealing to you today as chair of the Nubian Jack Community Trust. It costs money to cut. It costs money to create, to design, and to bring to fruition these plants, these commemorative plants, and also statues. And they are just two examples of how the Nubian Jack Community Trust brings to life, in a physical form, the history and the legacy of our people.
Beautiful.
So there you go, people. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, I'm sure that's now convinced you to support, to donate. And please donate. Whatever amount you can donate, please do so. Also, once you've donated, please also share the link with your friends, your family, your wider network, and your colleagues. As you've heard the various sentiments within the actual video clip, this costs money. It costs money to deliver such an important legacy. Let's do it for us, for our ancestors, for persons who are still alive on the call today. Let's do it. Right, thank you. So Jack, over to you, Pauline.
Yes, I do think there's something to be said about being resourceful. You know, we can't sit back and wait for, you know, people to step forward to do things for us. You know, in terms of rewriting the narrative and actually bringing our culture and our history to the fore, you know, we need to be resourceful and help ourselves. So, you know, the work that Jack's doing, and many of you would know Jack, you know, in the past in terms of the work that he's doing, we want to continue to do this. It's the only way that we're going to make a stamp, you know, get our history on the pages where it needs to be. So do donate as much as you can. And as Dwayne says, please share the link with any family members and friends whilst you're on the call. Just send them a quick text message, or WhatsApp, or an email. But let's try and see if we can shift that figure tonight. So Dwayne, do we have Mervyn in the house? Is Mervyn available to come forward now?
Mervyn is, I think Mervyn has been otherwise delayed, so we'll move on with the program.
I think he's here, you know. I think he's here
now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So maybe we can spotlight Mervyn once he's made himself comfortable, and then Dwayne, you can continue with engaging with Mervyn.
In the interim, can I just ask colleagues to just insert the link for the crowdfunding, please, so that persons in the room can actually utilize the link. So if we just we're placing the link in the chat. That's the link. Click on it. Donate as much as possible. And as my esteemed colleagues said, we got to be self-sufficient. No longer in the 21st century can we sit back and wait for government funding. We're very much resourceful. Let's do it for us. Okay. Mr. Mervyn's in the house. How you doing, sir? Very good afternoon to you. I can't, you're on mute. Okay, there you are. How you doing, sir?
Excellent.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Very good afternoon to you. So Jack was literally just bigging you up, Mr. Mervyn, Mr. Ware.
That's
Well,
Sean
missed it.
Connery. That's Sean Connery, isn't it?
Yes, if we just spotlight Mervyn, please. Let's get him on screen so everyone can see what this esteemed gentleman is about. Let's showcase him. That's what we do in this community. We need to showcase each other much more. So Jack was just bigging up you, Mervyn, massively.
That's nice.
That's not such a gentleman. So Mervyn, well, whilst we're looking to pin you and showcase you, colleagues of mine are looking to pin you. And just wait to get you on screen.
He has been pinned already.
Okay. So Mervyn, we want to talk about the book. Okay. So the book itself is such a beautiful and moving cover. What did you hope to achieve by using the Union Jack? And this was very clearly the depiction of the Black nurse, more importantly. In effect, twinning of Florence Nightingale and Mary Seacole. So what made you use those combination of very influential individuals as part of the cover of the actual book?
You know, in marketing terms, the book has the biggest responsibility. The cover is like a symbol of the book itself, and it's the most important promotional collateral that we have. You know, when you think of a book, you think about the cover. Now, there's a proverb that says, don't judge a book by its cover, meaning what's on the outside isn't necessarily the same as what's on the inside. There could be a difference. But when you're designing a book cover, you're trying to get a cover which actually mirrors what's inside the book. And that's the whole point. And that's what I was trying to do, to try and find an image that sums up what the book's about. And our cover has three distinct elements. One is the title, one is the image itself, and the other is the subtitle. And what I'm really trying to do is to illustrate the title. And the title, as you know, is Nurse in a Nation. Now that's a big title, Nurse in a Nation. And it's a little bit abstract. How do you nurse a nation? An anthology of African and Caribbean contributions to Britain's health service. That's a subtitle. So it helps us to really understand what the book is about. And then an anthology tells us that there's many authors, many contributors. And we could have gone with a cover that, you know, tried to illustrate this by showing many different people. But then you run into all sorts of problems. How many people? Who do you choose? Who do you leave out? You know, I know, generally speaking, a single image is much more powerful than many different images. And especially in this day and age, where in marketing terms, many people will only see the book online. And that might mean on a smartphone. So the image itself will be very small. And if you've got loads of little pictures, it will be indistinct. So I knew my job was to find a single image that encapsulated what this book was about. And as you've rightly said, when it comes to British nursing, Florence Nightingale is at the center of people's consciousness. And as many people know, she was known as the lady with the lamp. And that's because she often went at night to look at the wounded soldiers and look after them. So this image has a lady with a lamp. But what's so distinct about this image, it's a black lady with a lamp. And that's, you know, that shines out, and that had to be an important factor in what I was trying to convey. So we have this idea of a nurse, a black nurse, and with a lamp infused with the Union Jack, because when it says nurse in the nation, that doesn't tell us what the nation is. But when you see this image, with that combination of the black nurse and the Union Jack, we know that it's nurse in the nation, it's black nurses contributing to the British health system. So That's why, you know, if it works, it's for all those reasons. I've given you a background into how a designer thinks when he's trying to come up with a cover and what are the factors that are important to consider. I hope that helps.
Definitely, Mervyn. In fact, I think I may just be a pro after this session in terms of designing a book. So, Jack, watch the space. I'll come in. We can do some work.
Absolutely.
So, the book, absolutely beautiful, Mervyn. And there's a mixture of archival and contemporary photographs. Were they difficult to find?
Well, there's two kinds of images in the book, and one set of images were quite easy to find because it was from the contributors themselves. It was their own pictures that they were sending to be used. The only problem with that is that many of the images were not the right resolution for print. And that was a challenge, to get all the images to be at the right quality for reproduction. The other set of images are the archival ones, as you mentioned, and they came from mainly two sources. Some, you know, like the Royal College of Nursing and other institutions had their own library that they were willing to share those images. The problem was finding them, tracking them, and getting permission to use them. And there was a small team of people who contributed to sourcing those images over quite a long period. It was a very important job, but quite a difficult one. And the other kind of images that were archival are actually held in commercial libraries. Sometimes wonderful images. The only challenge there is that they charge commercially for them, and they can be quite expensive. But that's, you know, that's the range of places that we got the images from.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Over to you, Pauline.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you. I think there's one more additional question in maybe for Blossom and or Margaret Busby. I believe that they're both here tonight. Can we see if we can spotlight Blossom and Margaret, please?
I think Margaret wanted to say something on at a later date, because
Okay.
when we actually talk, yeah.
All right, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, I think
All right, before I move on, there's somebody with their hand up by the name of Cynthia Brown. Did you want to come in on the back of what Mervyn was discussing, Cynthia?
Cynthia's perhaps having a bit of a challenge. So
okay, if not, we'll move swiftly on. So okay, so Jack, I'm coming back to you. So
Sure.
Let's get back to the statue.
Sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's get back to the statue. So in terms of your book, the book was based on the statue. Yes. Could you tell us about how the statue was conceived? So what was the thought process behind the statue?
Okay, so the thought process behind the statue was, and by the way, we're here at the Whittington Hospital.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I'm going to actually take you right now to show you where the statue is going to go in the form of a mask. That's what the African and Caribbean nurses have been doing. By the way, I'm admitting people while I am currently co-hosting. So maybe someone could help out with that. But here we are anyway. Let me just first of all show you. We are actually in this wonderful hospital here, obviously named after Dick Whittington and his cat for some reason. Yeah. We decided to put the statue here because this is the most diverse hospital for Black nurses since the NHS was founded in 1948, the same year as the Windrush. I think I've said that before in another video. But here we are. And I'm going to right now take you over so the whole world can see that the whole process has already started. The company responsible are called Madstone Limited, as you can see there. And the statue is going to go here, right here. I don't know if I can actually sneakily give a little sneak. I'm actually going to give a little world exclusive view so you can see. All right, can you see that there? I don't know what you can see because I can't see, but that's where the statue is going to go. Do you see anything there, Pauline? Did you guys see that?
I did briefly see some concrete, but you actually
exactly.
thought that there was actually some sort of capsule that was laid there. So it's not just a site there's a construction site, it's actually a work in progress, isn't it? Because there is a capsule that's laid.
Spiritual and holistic. And when you are going to lay a statue to memorialize Black women or Black contribution to the NHS, we thought it'd be only appropriate that we used ancient ritual behavior. So we put a time capsule in, and should anybody, sorry about that, should anybody dare move this statue, they're going to come out in bumps and bruises and boils, just like they did with the pyramids. So that's the whole idea behind the statue.
Sanctified.
So that's it.
Sanctified.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Samantha is on. Samantha helped us to design she interpreted my design, and she's a fantastic lady, a great designer. And she, for those who don't know, we basically, by the way, we've got the EORI code. And there's a lady on the site, I'm gonna big her up because I know she's on, Miss Joanne Jarrett, man. You need to take a bow, sis, because through her, we've got the statues through customs today. I swear down as Jaliveth today from that sister. So I've got a beautiful team, man. The team is amazing. We've got a team for the book, a team for the statue, a team for the single. Your team in Islington helping us to fund this thing. You know, brother Dwayne there. You understand? So everything nice and Christian. Big up our massive our crew.
Exactly, indeed. Yeah. So what I do know is that you installed the blue plaque for the matron Daphne Steele.
We did, yes.
And that she's the first Black matron in the UK, and also Dr. Anson Doyle and George Busby, 3 pioneering characters who were also featured in the book.
Yes,
and there are many other characters that we are inspired by.
Exactly, including Dr. Margaret's father, Mr. George Busby, as you just said that, right? He was here in the 30s, actually. In fact, even before that. But I think he left to go to Africa to see how amazing he is. He qualified, he was born in Barbados, qualified in Edinburgh, did his time over here, and then went to Africa. A model we need to do. Hotep as we step to our skills to the motherland. This is the model we need to be doing. But yeah.
Exactly, indeed. So what did you hope that the book and the statue will achieve for the profession and the wider public on a whole? What's your views on that?
I hope the narrative of Black nurses and midwives will be definitively canonized after this statue and this book. This is a project for a generation. It's a great team of amazing people, wonderful minds have all come together, all the stars have aligned. By the way, can you see Dick Richardson's cat up there? I don't know if you can see it. That's his cat.
Yes,
cat.
Yeah, the iconic cat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's going to be also accompanied with the iconic Windrush midwife, the Commonwealth statue. Yes, so it will be, you know, Whittington Hospital and the whole area will be magnified in that respect.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So you mentioned the name earlier on as Samantha. I'm hoping that Samantha is in the call. Can we just spotlight Samantha? She is. I'm hoping that she's in the house.
Perfect. And
once we've got her spotlighted, I've got a nice question for her.
Okay, wonderful. But yeah, this is where it's going to go. I'm so pleased. And by the way, we have to big up the hospital as well for agreeing for the statue to be here as well. Dear Samantha, hey, she can't. You have to unmute her. She can't unmute herself. You have to unmute her.
So, host at the back end, please. Can we unmute Samantha?
Right, she can do that now. I think I can go now after you speak to Samantha. Is that right?
That's right. So you can head back nicely. So safe trip back.
Thank you, back.
We'll see you shortly.
In about an hour. Yeah, thank you. Lots of love to everybody. Thank you.
Godspeed. Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. How do I leave this place? Okay.
Samantha?
Is Samantha there?
Yeah.
Hi, Samantha. Good evening.
Hi.
Hello
Good
there.
evening.
Hi. So,
Hello.
Jack mentioned you and he bigged you up, as he should have. So tell us a little bit about your work, together with how you came to produce the artwork for the project itself.
To produce the artwork, I interpreted a a sketch that Jack sent to me. He did a 3D sketch, and yeah, so I took the overall measurements that he placed down, and I worked with it to make sure that I was working within the parameters that he wanted. So he wanted me to make sure that the statue is like 7 feet wide, 7 feet tall, and then also using the number 7 throughout, like creating the statue. So I had to kind of experiment to get all the proportions right so that I could use multiples of 7 throughout the statue. And then the idea was to split the statue into 16 pieces. So figuring out the best way to do that. And also, yeah, with the 7, that relates to 70 years since the NHS was formed. So that's where the number 7 comes from. And then also adding like the nickname for the statue, have the name of Sweet 16, and just adding the 1 and the 6 together to make 7 as well. So yeah, that's where the idea came from. So I just used my 3D modeling program to put it all together and then create the drawings for that.
Thank you for that, Samantha. Thank you very much indeed. We'll probably come back to you later once Jack's back in the building. All right. Thank you for your contributions. Okay, so Dwayne, I'm going to hand straight back to you. There's a few questions that we can ask Jack when he returns, but I'll hand back to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Samantha. Great stuff so far. I hope you all enjoying the event so far. Pauline, what do you think about the event so far? Some very informative information.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's quite an emotional time, isn't it? It's quite an emotive subject when we think about history and you know, our contributions and how much it's not been recognised. I think for the work that Jack Bueller is doing through Nubian Jack Trust, it's just amazing. And I think for this particular statue that's going to be erected outside the Whittington Hospital is just another milestone within that history making. And, you know, we want the community to really get behind this. As you know, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier on, where, you know, we have to be really resourceful and we have to do the work. We can't wait for others to do it for us. So we give thanks for Jack and the work that he's doing. But as you said earlier on, Dwayne, we can all create this legacy together. So let's all just, you know, just get involved. I'm just happy to be here, happy to be a part of the project, and happy to be making history, really.
I can't agree with you more, Pauline. Absolutely. I can see we've got our most esteemed honored Blossom Jackson. How are you doing this afternoon?
So could we possibly spotlight
Blossom
and remove Samantha, please? Thank you for the spotlighting. Thank you. Good evening, Blossom.
Good evening again, Pauline. I think it is better for you to ask me questions because I'm not sure what you actually would like me to talk about.
We've got questions for you. We've got so much questions for you, but guess what? I know a lady of your legacy and, you know, esteem and experience in this space. We really haven't got, we need more than a day, more than a few hours for you to obviously lecture us and let us know exactly, talk about your experiences. I've had the privilege of actually sat with you at lunch, and the information, you were just like flowing. It was just absolutely amazing. So I guess the question I have for you is, how do you feel about this in terms of the legacy piece?
I think it is wonderful that Jack and the Nubian Jack Trust have taken on this magnificent project, because we all know that many nurses from the West Indies, from the Caribbean, from the Commonwealth, did come to England in the early days of the National Health Service and before that. And we have all made a contribution, not just in nursing patients, but enabling student nurses, caring for patients, enabling students right across the field of nursing, as I've done in higher education. And I'm so pleased that they have done so wonderfully well. I did not know that, having started nursing in 1954, that I would be sitting with you all on this momentous occasion on the anniversary of the National Health Service, bearing in mind that I did start nursing 1954, which was in the early days of the National Health Service. So I feel so proud to share this platform with you, and I consider it a privilege.
Wow, absolutely well said. Well said, Blossom, Jack Blossom. Well said.
Could we just bring in Aman L, please, as well? Can we spotlight Aman L? Hoping that he's in the building with us. And then I think, Dwayne, we can talk a little bit about the, the song itself and the production behind it and so on and so forth, which I know that you were pivotal to that as well, Blossom. Also, Jackie, we can't forget Jackie. I know that Jackie also had a major role within that video and actually the song itself.
Okay.
Looks if Amon is not online. Someone held in the room or in the house, we should say. We'll just go for a room in this occasion.
Yes.
But whilst we're waiting for Amon, and we'll come back to you, Blossom, because we need to talk to you more. There's so much more we know you can actually share. I'm just going to ask our esteemed colleague just to share that song and video. Let's share with the house, please.
Big up our massive, our crew. Cause in the end, love is all we need. It is! How does it feel to finally be free? Wonder, will I ever know? Sometimes I dream of how it would be to have a life that I own. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love for someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song, yeah. So long I've been searching for something that I'm probably not meant to find. No matter how hard it gets, no matter when the tears fall, nothing can stop us from trying. Oh, when you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. Some might call me a villain, some may favor alien. Make me walk 1,000,000 miles to be free. Just to make a living and stop the killing and spread a little loving, cause love is all we need. In at the ends cause love conquers all. United we stand and divided we fall. A time when we see at the time we stand tall. May I look to one of you answer the call. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. Watch this. Love is all we need. Love is all we need in the end times. 'Cause love conquers all. Selassie, I know.
Great piece of work, great piece of a musical piece, I must say. And Aman L, the production assistant behind the track. So we must also be thankful for both Blossom and Jackie, who were, pivotal to the actual video itself. The project is, a fantastic musical piece to accompany the forthcoming statue and the work that's been done with the book itself. I don't think we do not have Aman L, so I think, Dwayne, we just need to move on swiftly.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacqueline Morris, are you with us? I'd like to just recognize the actors, as you just talked about. Amin Hell's played a very pivotal part in the awareness song. So that's the awareness song. For those of you who didn't know, that's the song that's promoting. So go out and purchase a song. Let's put the link in the chat so persons can know where they can actually purchase these songs. I believe you can purchase in Amazon, your Spotify, the usual channels where you can actually purchase these songs. Anywhere else, Pauline? Can they purchase from your shop as well?
On Apple as well.
What about the corner shop? Can we purchase from the corner shops?
I don't think so, but go to one of those regular platforms and actually just download the song and actually share it, because it also contributes to that bigger picture as well. Great. So
I'll come back to you now, Blossom. I did say I'll come back to you because there's so much for you to tell us about, and we'll talk to Jacqueline as well. I'm afraid we haven't got a moon in there. It would be great, but not a problem. So tell us about your work in NHS and the awareness single.
Hi, Dwayne. Hi, thanks for that great introduction there. That single is amazing. I think a lot of people can actually resonate with that, whether they're nurses, whoever's actually in the NHS. It really depicts the vibe, the energy. It's a fantastic, fantastic single. So yes, well done, Jack. Well done, everyone. Yes, back to me. Yes. Well, what can I say about myself? Without giving away my age too much, Dwayne, but I've actually spent many years in the NHS. I've always worked in the NHS, from leaving school and going to uni straight afterwards as well. So I started off initially as a clerical officer in City and Hackney in Stoke Newington. In fact, I was born here of Jamaican parentage. I originated from Brent to Northwest London. We moved to Islington when we were very young as a nuclear family. I started off my first job in City and Hackney as a clerical officer, then in Highbury as a assistant operational manager. So just moved up over the years. And I actually worked in community services, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And that actually encompasses managing various community services. So it's initially as a clerical officer, an assistant admin officer, and then as a manager. So I managed various clinics in Islington, Yeah, I managed various clinics in Islington, various health centres, yeah. And then I studied, I done my Bell leadership, I got my degree, diploma in management, and I then came under Whittington Health. So although I actually managed various community services, I actually came under Whittington Health and supported the chairman, and then another post in Guy's and St Thomas's. So yeah, that's my history really. And in terms of this particular project, I just fell into it. I was asked to assist in this project, which I'm so glad I did. And as you know, I played a blossom, but you're going to ask me about that, Dwayne, or you're going to not ask me about that? Do I say about that bit?
Yeah, tell us, do tell us. I mean, this is what this is about. Let's share and hear more about how you got involved in the actual project itself. In particular, and for those of you who didn't recognize the nurse in that song, the video of the song, it's your one and only truly, Jacqueline Morrison. And of course, Mom, I refer to as Mom Blossom Jackson, was Jack's mom, basically, in the actual video itself. So yeah, please do tell us more.
Well, I actually got involved with Nubian Jack mainly at this particular point because it actually was they're doing a project on the nurses and nurses from the Windmarsh and Commonwealth generation, which my parents are. My parents are actually from Jamaica, as I said. And also because I actually work for the NHS. So that's my passion to actually, I've never seen anything like this before, to be part of it, to be part of this amazing journey, to get involved in the research. I'm just passionate about all communities, but especially about our community, because it's not actually depicted anywhere, really. It's not actually transparent, the journey that our nurses and midwives came to this country, what they actually achieved. And to play the pinnacle role of Blossom, which was really nerve-wracking. I don't know how that came about, Dwayne, but I got... they coerced me into playing Blossom. And Blossom, I'm hopefully that I actually done you proud. It was a great honor to meet you, to talk to you over the phone initially. But yeah, it was an honor, really. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So, Mom,
to think that you played a health visitor. Sorry. So can I just say, also playing a health visitor as well, and the first health visitor that Blossom was as well, and that sort of thing. Just the history behind it. And that's what really resonated with me, just the history and how proud Blossom is, and that made me proud to play Blossom. Thank you, Dwayne.
Wow, I can only. I'm just listening to your reflection, your sentiments. So, Mom, you've heard Jackie's sentiments in response to that question. Playing you. So you have someone in the room that's played you.
Yes.
So tell us how. It goes without saying, but I'd like to hear from you. What made you got involved in the actual project itself?
Can I say that I've done a tribute to Dame Jocelyn Bowers when she died, and Jack found out for the first time that I was a nurse. He knows me as an entrepreneur. I'm actually the co-founder of Pablo Books, which later became Multicultural Books. And when the business was in operation, we had over 6,000 titles sourced from around the globe, and the company has won many awards. And I went into bookselling and publishing after I left the NHS. So I was invited to join in the early stage of dealing with the book with some magnificent people, and people like Margaret Busby and Miranda and others, and Mervyn have taken it forward since I left working with the book, and Josephine Beaton in November, but I did work on the early stages. So I was quite surprised when Jack asked me to join in doing this film. And I think Jackie is quite gracious to have given me all that accolade. I don't know who this person is that everybody's talking about. All I know is that I came from a background that if you were going to do anything, you have to do it well or not at all. And you're probably aware, in a nutshell, that I went from ophthalmic nursing at Moorfields, trained at Addenbrooke's, did midwifery, health visiting, became a health education officer in Camden and senior nursing officer for Camden that started the community care option for nurses, which was the first introduction to modular nurse training. Then I went into higher education, developing the health school nurses course, main subject lecturer in physiological development at Northeast London Polytechnic, which is a university now, and principal lecturer at Oxford Brookes, where I was course director. I was also a member of the educational department at the English National Board, responsible for planning, the Family Planning Association, and ended up as the first Black nurse who reached the most senior position in nursing as the first health education officer and professional advisor at the United Kingdom Central Council, which was the regulatory body for nursing. I was pleased that they invited me to be in the book, so you'll find more details of my work in the book, and I hope that it will continue as inspiration to all of those who would follow me. And I always believe that when I went for my interview with my father at Moorfields, his parting shot to me when I left home was, always remember the next nurse who is going to follow you, meaning the Black nurse. If you're good, then you'll make it easy for them. But if you are not of a good standard, then you'll make it bad for them. And I hope I've done so. So it has been a privilege to be involved with this project. And I'm privileged to work with all at the Nubian Jack Trust, including Jack Buello, who I've known since the 90s, and we had lost touch with one another. So I'd urge the public to go out and buy the single, contribute to the project so that we can erect our statue and do much more work for all those nurses from the Commonwealth who've contributed to the National Health Service before and since 1948.
Thank you so much, Blossom and Jackie. So that's such, and I love the way you plug it. You're taking my job, Blossom. See, Mom, you're taking my job. I was just about to plug the crowdfunding, because guess what? This is what it's about. So can we plug the crowdfunding again, please? Let's see. When we last looked at it, it was 87,000. I expect it to be around about 95,000 now. We've got something like 70 odd persons on the line. And of course, we've got persons watching this event this evening via YouTube as well. So can we see the crowdfunding again, please, colleagues? And I'm sure, let's do it. 95,000, would you say, Pauline? We're expecting to see now 87,000 when we last looked at it.
Let's push it right up there. We need to just do as much as we can, And
for those of you who don't know, you might have heard me introduce myself in one of the video promos. I'm a finance guy, so I'm a money man, really. So I love, handling money, lots of money, by the way. So can we see the crowdfunding, please? Yeah, can we share that now and just see 90,000, or is it going to be 95,000? Let's just refresh that. Where we at now? 87,000. We haven't moved. Unless there's something must be going massively wrong with the actual connection, because I'm sure persons in the room have actually donated since we've kicked off this session this afternoon. But yeah, there's a crowdfunding. There it is. You've heard our esteemed Blossom Jackson and Jacqueline Morrison providing you with a basis of why this is happening. This is a legacy for us all. Legacy for us, for the persons we're actually celebrating, we're recognizing. Could be your neighbor, could be your friend, could be your family, could be your cousin, could be your aunt. I think that includes family as well. Could be a co-worker, could be a co-worker's friend. So let's celebrate them. Let's honor them. This is a legacy. This is for us. This is for everyone. This is for you. This is for I.
It really does show, Dwayne, isn't it? If you put your best foot forward, you can do what you need to do. I mean, I when I watched the video, Jacqueline and Blossom, I thought, and even Jack as well, I was kind of mesmerized. You guys look like you have done this before, you know, this kind of acting. You can add, certainly can add that to your resume, because it came across as authentic as we would like it to be. So great job, I must say. Dwayne, if we can maybe think about, you know, saying to our ladies and gentlemen that we want to step back in time a little bit and take a little bit of a glimpse into the few nurses' stories of the past. We have a selection of 3 presentations about nurses who appeared in the anthology. So I think we would like to bring them to the fore. I think our first speaker is Stephen Bourne. Is Stephen Bourne present, please? Can we put a spotlight on Stephen?
I'm sure Stephen is in the room. I did see Stephen Bourne. Let's spotlight Stephen Bourne. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Bourne. How you doing?
Great. And whilst we get Stephen on screen, I should just, you know, give you a little bit of, hey, Stephen, how you doing? How you doing? So a little bit of intro. You've been writing Black history books since 1991. You're best known for your award-winning Black Poppies, Britain Blessed Black Community, and the Great World War Historian Press 2019. I mean, your most recent publication is Under Fire, Black Britain in Wartime, 1939 to 1945. And that's linked to the History Press 2020. And for more information, we're going to put a link in the chat so you can, you know, source more information about Stephen. But Stephen's been, you know, you've been doing great work, Stephen. So I'm going to hand over to you to tell the people a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I've been asked to talk mainly about Annie Brewster. But as you've already told everybody, I started writing Black British, and I emphasize British history books, not American, 30 years ago this year. So this year, I'm celebrating 30 years. The very first book, and there's a reason I want to mention this one, Aunt Esther's story, was published in 1991. And that was the story of my adopted aunt, Esther, who was a Black Londoner, born in London before the First World War. She was born in 1912. She wasn't a nurse, but she was, and this is very important and close to my heart, a hospital cleaner during the Second World War. So let's not forget all the other hospital staff that never get bigged up, and hospitals do work even now. Although my aunt said during the war, she had to clean hospital wards on her hands and knees with a buffer pushing a big thing. But one thing I want to say to people is that I've been doing this for a very long time, 30 years and more. And what I've learned, and what I say to young people especially about Black British history, always keep an open mind. If you don't keep an open mind, and if you don't question what you're told, then you'll never be able to uncover, or you will find it much more difficult to uncover the hidden stories. And there are so many hidden stories out there that we haven't even uncovered. And I always say to people, and this is not meant to be disrespectful to anyone in the room, never ever accept that this Black person was the first. Too often, there are Black people from British history who are claimed to be the first this, the first that. Walter Tull was the first Black officer. He wasn't, because we don't know the history. And I in no way want to claim that Annie Brewster was the first Black nurse in a British hospital. We don't know the history. We don't know if there were others before her. But I want to talk now about Annie because she's very close to my heart. I uncovered her story some years ago. The story is included in Jack Bueller's book. And this is Annie. This is the only photograph that exists of Annie Brewster. Annie Brewster was born in St. Vincent in what was then known as the British West Indies in 1858. She was the daughter of Farrar Chatterton Brewster, who was a merchant who was recorded as being born in Barbados. So she had a Barbados father. Her younger sister Laura was also born in St. Vincent. And sometime the family moved to England in the 1870s. But in 1893, Farrar, Annie's father, and the family, but not Annie, moved to the United States, where he later died in New York in 1920. Leaving Annie on her own in London, because meanwhile, in December 1881, at the age of 23, she became a probationer, nurse at the London Hospital in London's East End. Her appointment followed shortly after the death in London in May 1881 of Mary Seacole. But it is not known whether her example influenced Brewster to become a nurse. Eva Lux, who gained a reputation as a progressive matron of the London Hospital, was evidently willing to recruit a Black woman to her nursing staff. She recorded that Annie Brewster was, and I quote, a thoroughly satisfactory probationer, quick, thorough, intelligent, and active. She was a favourite with all the sisters under whom she worked. She was equally well fitted for medical and surgical work, and I was glad to accede to her request to be appointed staff nurse in women's medical wards. She was gentle and kind to her patients and showed a good head for managing her ward. And that I found in the London Hospital's Register of Probationers. So if you go into the archives, if you have these leads, you can find, this is one of the pages from the registers about Annie, quite detailed handwritten records. And in Annie's case, this is from the 1880s. In 1890, I discovered that after 9 years' service, Annie Brewster defended the London Hospital when it was criticised for its poor treatment of nurses. Her letter, which was published in a newspaper in 1890, refuted allegations of nurses having to undertake menial tasks such as scrubbing tables and poor food being given to them, and regretted that critics of the hospital had not made themselves accurately acquainted with the facts before making misleading public statements. I just found that letter by typing in her name in the British newspaper archive online. The last 14 years of Annie Brewster's 20 years service at the London Hospital was spent as a nurse in charge of the ophthalmic wards. She became known as Nurse Ophthalmic on account of her work with elderly patients who were going blind. Eva later described how, with her quick intelligence, Annie Brewster became very skillful in the treatment of eyes, and her kindness to the poor old people who passed through her hands during this period was unwearied. Again, this is what I found in the London Hospital official ward book. Latterly, Brewster was in failing health, and following an operation, she died at the London Hospital in Whitechapel on the 11th of February 1902, age of 43. She was buried in the City of London Cemetery, where the headstone on her grave was paid for by the London Hospital. Now, what I did next was to search for her grave, because I felt that needed to be done. Unfortunately, in the hospital records, it says that she was buried in Ilford Cemetery. She wasn't. With a lot of detective work and a lot of patience, I discovered that she was buried in the City of London Cemetery. So I made a personal trip to the City of London Cemetery. And when I spoke to the receptionist, he dug out all the maps and her plot and plot number, the maps from 1902. And I said to him, do you think there'll be a headstone? He said, no, not after all this time. And I mean, no one had probably been to the grave since 1902, and this was about 2 years ago. So with a lot of patience and a lot of searching, I found it.
Wow.
And exactly. And it had fallen over. It was broken. It was covered in weeds. I didn't come prepared. All I had was some tissues in my pocket, which I licked and sort of tried to wipe off all the bugs and the weeds. And I just want to read you the memorial, what it says. Annie Catherine Brewster, nurse ophthalmic, age 43 years, who died on the 11th of February 1902 after 20 years faithful service at the London Hospital. And so now there is work being done to restore the grave, because I knew that with the Mary Seacole grave, which again was left in disrepair and overlooked for many years, it took until the 1970s for the Jamaican nurses a group of Jamaican nurses in London, I believe, who had that grave, Mary Seacole's grave in Kensal Green Cemetery, restored. And this is what will happen eventually with Annie Brewster's.
And I understand that they honour, Mary Seacole yearly in terms of a ceremony. So the nurses will go and lay flowers, and I'm hoping that will be the same for Annie. Definitely a trailblazer in terms of the
absolutely was,
and way before the NHS.
Way before the NHS, and what I have to keep impressing on people is that she couldn't have been the only one. She couldn't have been an isolated case. There may not have been many, and we'll probably never know who the others are. But you mentioned the book I did, Black Poppies. Just before this book went to print, I had never been able to find evidence of a Black nurse in Britain during the First World War. This is about the Black servicemen and Black community in Britain in the First World War. And then just before the deadline, somebody sent me, you can't really see it, you'd have to buy the book plug. There's a picture of a Black nurse in Britain, in a British World War I convalescent home for soldiers who'd been at the front. This was taken in 1916. We don't know her identity. A couple of us have tried looking at records to try and establish who she was, but sadly, you can't always get that information. Do you still want me to move on and talk about Princess Tasai, or do you want to move on to somebody else now, or take questions?
We can take a few questions for you, Stephen, but if you can just bring a little bit of that information in, that would be great, because it's all educational and knowledge at the end of the day. I think the more we know, the better position we are for cascading the learning as well. So yeah, do that, and then we'll see if there's any questions in the chat for Stephen.
Sorry, what did you want me to do next?
You wanted to emphasize on someone else? You mentioned
no, I was asked by Jack's people to
yes, please.
A princess.
Do go ahead.
Another book plug. I am sorry. If I don't plug my books, no one will. War to Windrush, Black Women in Britain, 1939 to 48. So this tells the story of the 10 years leading up to Windrush and the NHS. But it does have a chapter about Black nurses in the NHS. And one of the Black nurses I researched for this book, I don't want to be in competition. This book was published about 3 or 4 years ago, before Jack's book, obviously. But there were exceptions, as I've already said before the NHS. An exception was made for the daughter of the exiled emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie. When Italy made war on his country and invaded it in 1936, he fled to England with his family and spent his exile years in Bath, Somerset, where his daughter, Princess Tsai, the Ethiopian word for golden sun, trained as a nurse at the London's Great Ormond Street Hospital for Sick Children. The children absolutely loved her, and she graduated as a state registered nurse on the 25th of August 1939 and served at the hospital all through the London Blitz, the German bombardment of London of 1940-41. And after the liberation of Ethiopia by the emperor's own army and by British and Allied forces, the emperor requested that his daughter return home. Just to close, the princess did return to Ethiopia with a unit of British Red Cross nurses, white nurses, she was in charge of them, to initiate the work for the health services of her people. However, she died on the 17th of August, 1942, from complications during childbirth. Emperor Haile Selassie founded the Princess Sahi Memorial Hospital in her memory, which also served as a nursing school. So it's good that he did that for his daughter, who was another trailblazer.
Exactly. That's educational for me. I did not know that piece. So thank you for sharing. We've got Stephanie McPherson, who is, thanking you very much for the fantastic and brilliant work that you're doing.
Oh,
and
you're
that,
welcome.
mentioned that there's further information to be given around Annie's grave so that others can visit it. So I don't know how we're going to bring that to the fore, but we'll leave that in your expertise, Stephen. Also, we had a lovely comment from Myrtle Richards, who is saying that you're also doing very much amazing work and acknowledging the wonderful work of these nurses. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dwayne, over to you.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Stephen. That was so inspiring and educational. Thank you so much for the brilliant work you're doing. Our second speaker is our amazing, and I can see her just sat there looking so relaxed. It's our second speaker is Montas Marsh. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good afternoon to you. I'm doing great, thank you. Thank you for asking. So Montas, she's a PhD student in the Department of History at the University of Birmingham. She's also from the Young History Project, or a non-profit organization formed by young people encouraging the development of young historians of African and Caribbean heritage in Britain. I needed to say that very slowly so that everyone can actually soak it in. They, of course, are the team of young people. These are the future generations. So doing very, very, very important work here of persons who are aged between 16 and 25, working in dynamic projects, such as documenting pivotal and often overlooked historical moments. So, Montaj, you will be presenting on the Nigerian nurse Princess Ademola. Over to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that great introduction as well. Yes, I am part of the Young Historians Project, and we, for the last 2 years, have been working on a project where we will be illuminating the lives of African women in the British healthcare service over the 20th century. And it's been an incredible project thus far. And as a part of this project, we researched Nurse Ademola, and this is the kind of the research that I can propose to you today. I don't know if I can share my screen. Hopefully I can.
Yes, you should be able to, yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. Can you see that?
Yeah, can see that, great.
So this is Princess Aderele Ademola, and she was born on the 2nd of January 1916, and she was the daughter of a king in the southern region of Nigeria, the Eleke of Abeokuta, and she served as a midwife in numerous London hospitals during and after the Second World War. However, most famously, she was immortalized as one of the first African nurses to be the feature of a colonial film unit film. I mean, we say she likely was the first. She's one of the only ones that we know of, but she was one of the first. And this film was called Nurse Ademola. Now, Ademola's life in Britain is not known in extensive detail, but what primary materials have confirmed was that she arrived in Britain on the 29th of June in 1935, landing in Plymouth, and she resided at the West African Student Union's Africa Hostel in Camden Town. After schooling in Somerset, she was listed amongst the nursing staff on the St Saviour's ward in Guy's Hospital in 1939. But by June 1931, Ademola was a registered nurse.
Are you there, Montas? You've lost your sound. You need to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Fab. Can you share my screen? Okay, so one of her last recorded movements, noted in the British Archives anyway, is one in 1948 when she returned from Britain from Lagos with her husband Timothy Adutola, who was a prominent Nigerian businessman and politician, whom she married by civil law, and Ademola was her seventh wife. So was his seventh wife. Her care as a nurse in London hospitals, alongside her significance as a role model for the empire, was emphasized in the Colonial Film Unit's film Nurse Ademola, produced between 1944 and 1945, and was broadcast across West Africa. Nurse Ademola became one of the 200 propaganda films broadcast across the African continent. But since its distribution, the film has been lost. These stills some of them which you're seeing on the screen now, were recorded, and because of this, we allowed insights into Ademola's personal experiences as a nurse, as well as African women's contributions to the war effort and to London hospitals. Now, according to contemporary listings in colonial cinema programs, the film depicted Ademola, an African nurse, at various phases of her training at one of the great London hospitals. Now, as part of the Young Historians Project, where we were looking into African women's lives in the British Healthcare Service, our research examined further into her family, where we were able to discover her elder sister, called Princess Adereme Ademola, who was also a midwife, who qualified in 1934. While in Britain, it was her sister Adereme who made official appearances as a princess. She attended the coronation of George VI on the 12th of May, 1937, with the Eleke, and she attended royal events during the season, including garden parties at Buckingham Palace, dinners at the Mayor of London's house, and other events alongside this. But this did not mean that Adereme did not also perform duties as a princess. Notably, in 1942, she spoke publicly to West Africa on the BBC broadcast Calling All Nations. Now, the Young Historians Project had led an extensive search into Nurse Ademola's life across various primary sources, materials, and archives. Much of the research that I've spoken about here today stems from passenger lists, newspaper articles, nursing registers, hospital records, over the course of a 20-year period. But it was through connecting with Ademola's family in Nigeria that we were able to find out what happened to Princess Ademola later in her life. Her marriage to Odutola did not last. After some years, the polygamous marriage was difficult, and she left her husband's household. Neither her or her elder sister had any children, and she died in 1962 in Abeokuta. Still, undeniably, that Nurse Ademola, alongside her royal family, led an extraordinary life of care and commitment across Britain and Africa, acting as a testament to much of the wide-ranging contributions of African women to the healthcare service, spanning centuries. So this is so evident in the fact that her presence and actions as a nurse were memorialized in the film and are celebrated still to this day, which is why she's such an incredible inspiration and one of the focuses of our project. So yeah, thank you. That's kind of the presentation.
Thank you so much. Very intriguing information on our Nigerian nurse Princess Ademola. I'm now going to introduce my co-host, Pauline, for a third speaker.
Hi, Dwayne, thank you, thank you. So our third speaker is Trishorna Stewart. Trishorna Stewart is an educator, researcher and writer from Manchester. In her work and teaching role, she applies multiple interdisciplinary lenses, enabling the verification of political, social and cultural history. Trishorna is the proud team member of Lewis de Concordia Education Trust, where she has worked as an English teacher for several years. She has also completed a bibliography novel entitled Eyes to the Stars, My Journey, which is based on the life and achievements of Lewis de Concordia. The novel is a piece of history with the creative structure of this work. Trishorna goes beyond merely just highlighting, sort of contributions of the Windrush generation to the National Health Service itself. She allows the reader to experience and hold space with an important figure in the Black British history, which I think is really important in this current day and age. Trishorna also uplifts and enables the academic elevation of young people aged 14 to 19 through her educational services, I Can Tuition. She's also the founder and editor of the soon-to-be launched decolonial online platform, Rico Riches. So can we bring Trishorna Stewart to the platform, please? Good evening, Trishorna.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Team, are you able to share my PowerPoint, please? Thank you. So good evening, my name is Trishorna and I'm present before you all today to give a brief presentation on the work and accomplishments of Louise de Concordia. So as Pauline has mentioned, I have authored the life journey of the Honourable Louise de Concordia, an inspirational Jamaican-born, multifaceted figure and force who dedicated many of her years of her life to the NHS. Impactfully, she also worked as an activist, and unfortunately, historiography often renders her invisible. Therefore, with the narrative biography of her life journey, Eyes to the Stars was very much an important and urgent and necessary task. I have focused on bringing voice, self, vision and sight to life. I've had the honour of calling Louise back to life, allowing not only for her story to be told or presented, but for her voice to be projected and her overlooked work made visible. Mrs. Louise de Concordia, as Star, was a light centering figure within the Manchester community. She centered the light, but became the light herself. Standing at the core of the foundation of the African Caribbean community in Manchester, she carried a unique, magnetic and directional power which illuminated the need for change and racial equality. She especially demonstrated this need in exercising her power through entering space and revising its demographic. Could you please go to the next slide? So radical in her work, she subverted widespread constructed power structures which were designed to ensure that she answered and was not answered to. Following her move to the United Kingdom in 1955 from Jamaica, she entered the wards of Britain's hospitals, nursing and serving British individuals, many of whom held racist beliefs. As nurse, wife, midwife, health visitor, and the superintendent of district nurses. She was the first Black woman to hold a senior position in Manchester's healthcare service. I will briefly provide an overview of her inspirational journey, and I will also read a short extract from my upcoming biography. Louise Zakakodia was born in the parish of St. Catherine in the colony of Jamaica on 9th of November 1934. In 1955, at the age of 21, she migrated to the United Kingdom to train as a state registered nurse in the National Health Service. Next slide, please. Louise entered the wards and acted with care, understanding and determination, experiencing on many occasions voiced and embodied racial abuse. Like many unnamed Caribbean and African migrants, she contributed greatly to the process of construction and modernising the NHS. Her high-quality services in nursing and midwifery were a testament to the skills which members of her generation brought to England with them. Her eyes were always fixed upon the highest space of occupation, and she was able to rise to it, especially with the aforementioned role of Superintendent of District Nurses. Could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I'll now read an extract from the book. I use my right hand to reach out for the handle of the grey door. Part of the morning routine, I am already able to feel the coldness of the small icebox which swirls on the other side of the door, an ever-friendly morning greeting. Pushing the thin rectangular glacier, I am walking through the passage to enter this hell which has frozen over. The familiar stench of bodily wastes, which were ejected from upper and lower passages of bodies, is hitting me in the face. In this freezing holding area is another Black nurse. She's from Nigeria, Lagos, I believe. Good morning, sister, I greet. Good morning, Louise, she replies. No doubt other Black staff will soon join us. This is very much like a Black and Irish only area. This is an area where we must stay and freeze, eliminating the wastes of incontinent patients by cleaning out the bedpans and washing the soiled, messy, smelly bed sheets. A single shiver creeps up my spine as my body takes another hit to the system. It is adjusted to these kind of upsetting attacks. Attacks of such illustrate injustice employed at its best. Grey hair stands on the edge of complete repulsion as a scowl is plastered upon an ungrateful, wrinkled face. The stench transpiring from the elder woman is repulsive, yet I continue to fulfill my duty, smiling with grace. After changing this patient's IV, I have been ordered to assist her with her bathroom duties. Clearly, this patient, Mrs. Elizabeth James, is not happy to be a recipient of my services. An overbearing disdain for the colour of my skin is seeping through her scaly pores. My arms give her assistance as I am helping her rise to her feet, steadily and without pulling the needle out of her arm. Her scowl is growing meaner and she pushes me away, refusing my help. Keep your dirty hands off me, she barks. I'd be offended if I didn't know any better, but I know that it's not I who is the dirty one. I decide that creating some distance between us is a wise option. This is the attitude that most of the elder patients uphold. The younger patients are usually skeptical. They too do not want to be helped by nurses like myself, but rather they hold it upon their tongues, deciding not to voice it. So as we have seen, Louise grew familiar with walking the wards unguarded. In her decisions and leadership, she stepped and sought to atone for community, but also in the faithfulness of community acting for self, adversities and injustices. The leadership power which she possessed moved beyond the healthcare field. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, she handled discrimination complaints as a member of the Race Relations Board committees. Louise, along with her community-changing colleagues, Eloise Edwards and Betty Lockham, also established and co-established multiple community organisations such as Arawak Walton Housing Association, Karaoke Education Trust, and they also held important roles, and Louise did, as Deputy Lord Lieutenant for Greater Manchester. Exemplifying the care and determination shown in her nursing roles on an advanced level, Louise grew into an unstoppable activist with a voice and a healthcare plan for the African Caribbean community in Manchester, one which would improve safety, employability, housing opportunities, and education. She rose to the call of the next generation and notably was there to raise up and transport injured Black bodies to hospital during the Mossad riots of 1981. Following the riots, she worked then to establish the causes of the riots when she sat as a member of the Hinter Inquiry Panel. Further, the humanism that she often demonstrated in practice was also advocated for in a 1984 paper entitled The Probable Effects of Racism in Nursing and Related Disciplines, which was published while she was a senior nursing officer for Tameside. Recently, there have been renewed conversations centering on Black feminist movements in Manchester. And Louise's feminism was executed in the spaces of female empowerment, which she created through Mossad Women's Action Forum, also known as MOSHWAF, and multiple other women's groups, and through her mentorship and support of young women in her community. The Black feminist spaces which she supervised resulted in the empowerment of women and in the guarding of the community and its resources, protecting all. Known affectionately as Mrs. D, the Mrs. in her name willingly committed her to the community. Next slide, please. In 2008, following her death, Karaoke Education Trust, which she co-founded in 2001, was renamed Louise Dakakodia Education Trust. Staff members work on her behalf, ensuring that children of African and Caribbean heritage have relevant and accessible education, employment, and enterprise services. Black history is embedded throughout our curriculum, and students have engaged with Louise Dakakodia's story, understanding, discussing, and rewriting the contributions of African Caribbean people to the NHS, and also the legacy of those who migrated to Britain following the docking of HMT Empire Windrush at Tilbury. I walked down the wards of Louise Dakakodia Education Trust, fulfilled and on a duty to ensure that African Caribbean children inherit the torch. With right and power, you walk the wards of the hospital, the meeting rooms, the surgery, the street, the educational institution, the business, because they tended to the wounds of white Britain. We walk the wards because she walked before us. Mrs. D, a figure whom we must see when we refer to the community. Thank you.
Very, very powerful indeed. Thank you for bringing her to life, Shauna, honestly. And when you were talking about, you know, all that comes to mind is really is endurance and resilience. You know, when she was explaining how she was actually, interfacing with the patients and all her senses being attacked by the smell and, you know, the cold and everything. You can just imagine what they went through. in line with all of that hostile, being in that hostility in terms of hostile environment. It's just, we really do have to honor them and bring their stories to life. So thank you very much for doing that. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We can see some people clapping in the chat. So actually, it was a brilliant presentation. Thank you indeed. Thank you
very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Dwayne, so over to you.
Over to me. Thank you so much, Pauline. So we are next segment, as we enter the next segment. Just like to introduce you to
There's some feedback going on there, Dwayne.
Feedback.
What's going on?
A little bit of feedback going on your end.
In my hand. Is that better?
Much better, much better.
Thank you so much. So our next segment is Jacqueline Morrison will be leading our next segment, and we'll be talking to a number of nurses within the community, esteemed nurses, by the way. So Jackie, over to you.
Hi, Dwayne. Thank you for that. Right, okay, I'm going to be talking to several nurses and midwives, and the first person I'll be talking to is, so welcome everyone, and I'll be talking to Mrs. Violet Hall. Are you there, Mrs. Hall? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mrs. Hall?
Just need to unmute yourself, Mrs. Hall, please.
I'm Violet Hall. Came over in 1952 from the West Indies, Jamaica. While I was there in school, I thought I would apply to do nursing before leaving school so that I wouldn't have to wait too long to enter the hospital. And the reply I got was I had to wait for 3 years before I could enter the medical side of it. And my headmaster, because I was still at school then, my headmaster's sister, who has a training school out there, always get the nursing mirrors from over in England here. And when she realized I wanted to be a nurse, I had to wait so long, 3 years, to enter the system. She called me and said to me, why not go away to England, do your training, and within that 3 years waiting, you in and come back to Jamaica. So she gave me the nursing mirror. I looked through the mirror and I found this hospital in Eastbourne.
Can I just stop you there? Yeah. Can I just stop you there? Hello, Mrs. Hall. It's me, Jacqueline. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Hi. Yeah. So far, it's great what you're actually saying.
Yes.
What made you want to go into nursing? Why nursing?
Why nursing?
Yeah.
Because there's a friend of ours at home that was in the nursing profession. And when I visit her in the hospital, she used to take me around with her in the wards, and I thought, this is what I want to do. And this is what gives me inspiration to do nursing. The hospitals in Jamaica.
Oh, that's great, actually. It's great. How did you find coming to England? Because you're the most senior but youngest person on this platform today. So yes, what made you want to come to England?
What made me want to do what?
What made you want to come here, did you say, apart from, well, you could have gone anywhere, but what made you want to come here specifically?
To come to England?
Yeah.
I think it's because the nursing mirror was published here, and because it was from England, then I just choose England.
Ah, bless. Well, we're glad to have you.
And because Eastbourne seems such a lovely area, I thought this was a spot for me.
Right. Okay. Okay. Oh, brilliant. So, are you well? Are you well?
Am I well at the moment?
Yes.
No, I suffer from stomach problem and my eustachian tube, which is the tube between the left and the right ears.
Yeah.
Not flowing that clever, so I do get dizziness.
Right. Okay.
But apart from that, I'm still here.
So because we're actually pressed for time, unfortunately, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. So in terms of your nursing career, okay, when you were actually here as a nurse, and now you as a patient, how do you think it compares? What's your opinion of the nursing then and the nursing now? So standard of care, in other words.
Because technology has improved so much in the nursing profession. And when I compare what's happening now to what used to happen when I first started nursing, I thought it seemed as if we were really primitive then.
All right.
It seems we were very primitive then. Because the things that we used to do, we used to be more personal with the patient.
Yeah, yeah.
To do more. When I first arrived here, I was a few weeks early to start the school. As I explained, the school was a block, BLOCK block system.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They entered that school for 3 months where they teach you all about nursing before you go to the ward.
Right.
When you go to the ward, because you're the junior, you used to do some of the menial jobs. Which was washing the nappies. Ooh. And you got to boil them. There was no laundry to send to. So you used to do the menial jobs before patient.
Yeah, yeah.
And things that there was no autoclave to do the bedpans. So you had to do the bedpans with your hand and sterilize them with disinfectant.
Wow.
I was one of the lucky ones because on the ward I was put on, we had SCN nurses and we have
Let's just define that for those people who don't know, who's actually listening in. State enrolled nurses, just in case no one's not terribly sure about that.
The difference between there's SRN and SCN.
Yeah.
SRN is is somebody who do the full nursing training.
Yeah.
SCN had to do 2 years. And most times, if you try to do your SRN and you fail, in my hospital, they used to demote you to SCN where you only do 2 years. So we have the SCN and we have the orderlies. So it was very lucky. Our job as junior nurses were doing the flowers, the bedpans, but we had the orderly and the sister and the SCN used to take over that role.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So you've had a wide career really, leading up to, because you became an SRN, didn't you? Is that right?
Yes,
yes. Yeah.
And my midwifery as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's been great having you on board. I was insistent on you coming on board, and it's wonderful. You look great. You keep looking after yourself, and talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you for your account. Thank you.
Thank you for including me.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Okay. We'll be going on to, if she's around, Mrs. Dawnhill. Have you got Mrs. Dawnhill?
I'm looking for Dawnhill, and I can't see her on the participant list. Is Dawnhill here?
Perhaps we should move on to Charlene.
We can go on to Charlene. Charlene, are you there?
Here. Hello, everybody. Hello, Jackie.
Where are you?
Here.
Where are you, Shirley? Over a bit, Shirley. There you go. There you go. Hello, Shirley.
Hello.
I think I've known you at times we've actually been talking.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you.
Right. Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to be here. those stories have brought back so many memories.
Wow.
Some of them pleasant, but most of them I can actually correlate with the speaker before.
Right, yeah.
Had
Yeah.
so similar experiences. Although I came much later, the situation was still very much the same. But
Right.
far away if you've got any questions for me.
Okay, let me just introduce you. So,
Jackie, sorry to interrupt you, if I may. Could we ask Charlene to move her camera?
I was trying to move it over a bit.
You're going to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just try a bit, yeah. There you go. We want to see all of you, not bits of you, all of you. Yeah.
That's much better, much better.
Yes. There you go. That's better. That's better. You okay there?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So this is Charlene Rudder. Charlene Rudder, MBE, is a co-founder and life member of the Sickle Cell Society. She's also president of the Association of Guyanese Nurses and like professional AGN AP. Along with her colleague, Elizabeth Oniwanu, she was one of the first trained counsellors in hemopathic sickle cell disorder in the UK, and in 1988 was appointed lead genetic counsellor at the Kennedy Galton Centre, where she joined clinical teams working on inherited diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
One of the main ones being sickle cell disease, but there are other conditions.
That is something.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So, Charlene, you write in your piece how difficult the 1930s were in the UK to get the funding for sickle cell campaign. Yeah. And you said that you had to pound the beat to the House of Parliament, local town halls and community centres, BBQs, anything that would help raise sufficient funds or giving us suitably warm accommodation to house a charity and bring our sufferers in from the cold. That is something. That is something. So tell us a bit about it, because that sounds, you see, I know in terms of sickle cell, and just talking to yourselves and talking to others as well that's involved in sickle cell, it's not been easy to get that recognition. And it still is a chore now, but it must have been more difficult then. How did you go about it? Tell us a bit more about that.
Very much so. You're thinking of 1964, I came here, trained and had all the respective training, but we decided on working on sickle cell disease in the London Borough of Brent. Now at that time, and this was in the early 70s, at that time, no one knew very much about sickle cell. It hadn't been actually heard of. But we as young nurses coming into the London Borough of Brent, where to this day, there's still a large proportion of Afro-Caribbean people, we got to understand about this condition. And the person who brought it to our attention was a Dr. Misha Brozovic.
Yes,
and in fact, it was brought to us because, I mean, that's a hematological condition that she was a professor, and she was in charge of the condition. But of course, you know, all of her beds were being taken up by these sickle cell sufferers. So she called us all together. At that time, Elizabeth Anyangwu was our in-service training officer. And together, we as the young health visitors in the London Borough of Brent, I was in Harsden, we all came together and decided that we would try to get an understanding of this condition, because you know, as a young health visitor, I was constantly bombarded by patients who would be coming down the corridor, seeing the doctors in the area who would just send them down. They knew very little about the condition themselves. And of course, seeing us as new Black health visitors, they were thinking that maybe we know a little bit more about the condition. So they sent these patients down to see us. And of course, we're thinking, we don't know a great deal about this either. So we actually welcomed the call of Dr. Brozovic, who said, come on, girls, we've got to get together and do something about it, because the beds are being taken up by sickle cell sufferers who are in hospital, but because they do not really understand about the condition themselves. And their admission to hospital relies very much on their fear of the condition. So we felt at that time, and she felt at that time, that if there was more education to be had and more support for the individual sickle cell sufferers and their families in their community, then perhaps she would get more of her beds to be unoccupied by sickle cell sufferers. So we decided we would actually come together and do something about it. And as I mentioned in my piece, because there was so little information. I mean, that word that you struggle to call, the hemoglobinopathy. All we knew about it was a book written by some great professor called Man's Hemoglobin. And we were thinking, oh, as nurses and health visitors, we don't know. So what are we going to do? And it was at that time that Elizabeth and I decided that we would best go to America, where, so they knew a great deal about it. It was in the era of Nixon, and I think one of the good things that he did at that time while he was president was to set up sickle cell centers in the States. And that's
fascinating, actually, because at least that's one good thing he's actually done, without being too political.
So
at least that's one good thing.
And we were trained as hemoglobinopathy counselors, and there we got so much information. We came back, and of course we decided that the best thing to do was to emulate the situation there. Where were we going to turn for help?
Of course.
There was no funding. We were employed by the health authority in Brent, so they had certain limitations on what we could do. And that's why we decided that we would set up charity. So we had a little group, and my thing about going around and pounding the beat and asking people for help to support us through, to get some funding. We knocked on every door in Brent just to get somewhere where we could meet with the sickle cell sufferers and talk about their conditions and see what their needs are. Let them express to us what their needs are, and then we would try very hard to see whether we could put them in place.
You know, Charlene, I know a few people who's actually got sickle cell, thankfully, not in my family. But for those who's not actually aware of how sickle cell can affect the individual, can you just explain about that? And the crux of the sickle cell, really, I would actually say, is actually the pain involved. It's the pain around sickle cell. Can you just elaborate on some of those sort of symptoms and how it can actually be disabling to some people? It depends on how, or the trait, or the full blown.
One of the things I'm very grateful for is, as a new health visitor, and very keen and very interested in what was going on in the community, and the medical condition that was affecting the community, we found was obviously sickle cell. And I think at the time I was appointed as the health visitor who would visit the wards and discuss with the pediatricians the problems of young sickle cell sufferers. And there I actually met a young lady called Laurel Brumon. And you would have seen her book and her pictures, where she very, very poignantly described the pain. And I remember one of the descriptions that she said to us was, it always felt as if somebody had taken a nail and screwed it into her bones. This pain was so intense. And she was probably about 10, 11 years lying in the bed, suffering. And so the pediatrician, said, we've got to do something for this lady.
Yeah.
But not only the tremendous pain and the lack of education as to how they would help themselves, really, and help the doctors who are looking after them, who would always criticize them and really be convinced that they were putting on the level of pain. They were never convinced that the magnitude of this pain was so great, right?
It's a lack of understanding, isn't it?
A lack of understanding and the lack of education, not only for patients, but for the medical team, the nurses, etc. It was a whole journey of education right around. And it's not only the individual suffer, because this young lady had several brothers and sisters who, if you understand the genetics of that condition, it's a 1 in 4 chance. If the members of the family have got sickle cell trait, the father's got sickle cell trait, the mother has got sickle cell trait, then there's a 1 in 4 chance that each child of that family would inherit sickle cell. So it's really high incidence of the problem in the community. But not only the effects on the individual pain, but the effects on the rest of the family members.
Precisely.
Those who are actually thinking, well, my turn is next. Am I going to be affected like that? And what we've got now is a marvelous improvement, because you test the children now.
Can you just move over a little bit? Can you just move to your right? That's it. That's great.
Right.
Fantastic. That's what I want to allude to, actually, is that, because I know some people that's actually had to have blood transfusions, that sort of thing. It really does impact the family immensely. I mean, for a lot of the people that I know, they try to be strong about it and what have you, to continue their daily life, especially if they're actually at school, because some people are adults and it's also children as well affected. So yes, can you just explain how it actually impacts the family unit on the whole?
One of the most important, apart from setting up the charity where they can get their needs understood and expressed, and of course to get funding to help them, but we moved into education in the schools, and the children suffered terribly because, sports day and they go for walks and what have you, then nobody was convinced that they were having this level of pain and this level of discomfort. And so I think we were the first borough to actually have someone in the school dedicated to looking after the children, and have an understanding as to why they couldn't take part in these long trips through the countryside, the things that children do naturally. But these children are suffering with such pain, and with the frequency of that pain and the level of the pain in the sickle cell sufferers, it was very hard. And we got that person employed by the Education Authority, dedicated to looking after the children in that particular school, in that particular area. But unfortunately, and I'm going back now to the 70s when we set up the Sickle Cell Society, I understand that position doesn't actually happen anymore. A lot of the facilities that we fought for and determined to improve the lives of sickle cell sufferers, they seem to have dissipated over years. And that's a great, great tragedy, I think.
That is very sad, actually. I was hoping that I was going to answer that next question. But to hear that the service no longer exists is extremely sad, because that doesn't mean the condition doesn't exist.
No.
You see what I mean? Of facing lots of people. And that to me is extremely sad indeed. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the services in certain areas no longer exist?
I think,
what's your opinion, in your opinion?
We have to be constantly fighting and trying very, very hard. And if you, you know, go calmly, quietly, say, oh, well, it's been going on for so many years and you've had so much of education and, you know, then things can't be that bad. And with diminution of financial services around the community generally, you know, you go to the bottom of the pile. But the condition is there. I mean, I heard very recently about a young man who asked about blood transfusion in a hospital. And I was absolutely shocked because I know that that hospital is one of the hospitals where we did a lot of the pioneering health education and training in that hospital. So no one should be saying that they don't know about the treatment of sickle cell society these days. But it's a question of, you know, not now, you know, this is a age, and it's talking about 10, 20, 30 years later. It shouldn't be happening now, but it is.
You see, that to me is a couple of things I want to ask you, what resonates loudly for me. You pounded the beat to get, and what some people don't actually understand is that to get funding for research is not easy. So sometimes we've actually got these services within the NHS, for example, and sometimes people don't necessarily know how hard it is to get the attention, to get people's awareness to fund certain projects. And for you, as you've just said earlier on, to pound the beat, to bring about this awareness, to bring about the service, and to no longer have the service in Brent is extremely sad. It's extremely sad indeed. Extremely sad. What do you think? It's not easy getting resources, is that right?
I just think it is absolutely
to get funding.
And you try very hard to get an improvement in the services, and it's quite costly. And but you know, over the period of the time, it's all seemed to have gone below the surface again, and it's that new generation have got to take up our responsibilities and start fighting the cause for these patients again. You know, it was incredibly hard to get the patients themselves to understand their entitlement to a proportion of the services that's around, because they were constantly being denied under services. But I have to say that we were very fortunate in working in a borough like Brent, because, you know, they were very, very supportive. And the building that we're in at the moment, the Sickle Cell Society, that was actually funded by Brent. And
yes, I know.
So really, not all boroughs are totally ignorant of the situation. Some are incredibly supportive. And I will always say, you know, that had it not been for that particular borough, and the thinking of the people in that borough at the time, you know, we would not have been. Sorry.
I think people listening, you've really enlightened us a lot, really. A really lot to this, to the cause. And all I can say is that thank you so much for you've done to bring about that awareness. I know Brent, I was actually born in Brent originally. So
I was probably your health visitor, come to think of it. Did you hear that?
Born in Brent.
Yeah, well, I was probably your health visitor. I'll get to talk to you later. That's fine.
But thank you so much for your contribution today.
Well, thank you very much. And what I can say to the general public out there, please, 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 don't forget sickle cell sufferers. The situation has improved tremendously, but we still need the community support, and we need people out there to come along and really give us hand in terms of the
most definitely. And we need also as well, everything, as you well know, is about evidence-based. Everything's about figures. Okay, so we've got to demonstrate that there is actually a need. So thank you so much. Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank
you
you
for your kind contribution.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. We were actually talking about that. Actually, it's Pauline Lewis. Sorry, my correction. Pauline Lewis. Is she around there?
We got Betty Y next, Jacqueline.
Oh, I had just been informed that it had changed to Paulette Lewis. So
okay, just bear with us and we'll find Paulette Lewis.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I actually got some information there. That yeah, that was really a counter actually. Well, I can see that we've actually got Betty White.
Oh, hi,
so
we've
just
Betty White.
Yeah, we've just put Paulette Lewis onto the spotlight. So if you put your camera onto speaker view, you can see who's been spotlighted. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I can see Paulette Lewis.
Do you want us to bring Betty? Do you want us to bring Betty White as well?
Oh, hi.
Yeah, you can do. Well, I'd like to speak to Paulette first, actually.
Okay,
so,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Paulette, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Paulette. Hello, Paulette.
Oh, hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
As a guest here. Fine, thank you. Thank you. Is the president of the Caribbean Nurses and Midwives Association, a non-executive director of the NHS, and former president nurse. Sorry, just 1 second. Sorry about that. And the former president Nurse Association of Jamaica, UK, the management consultant. And Paulette is a highly experienced leader and director. She works as a non-executive director in the NHS and management and has many years experience in the National Health Service, working across acute and community care in integrated care organisations. That is some testimony. So that is some testimony. And first of all, welcome. It is really great having you on the panel. It really is. Your professional career has spanned over 3 decades, and you have seen many changes in nurses and midwifery, especially as you've had such a senior role. What are the changes that you would like to see, do you think, that is not already visibly in place?
Oh, there are so many changes. We talk about, many people are talking today about from 1948 and beyond, and we're now in 2021. I mean, there has been lots of research, clinical practice, a number of issues like those have changed. NHS in terms of its infrastructure has changed, policies and procedures have been updated, NICE guidelines. A lot of those sort of issues have changed, but I think for me personally, within the area and what is actually happening, it would be focusing on how are we treating our workforce? What has changed in terms of our valuing, our transparency, our development of nurses.
Yep.
And we still have a problem in terms of promotion of our Black and minor ethnic nurses. If you look at the statistics, when I was director of nursing, it was 3%, and that's quite a few years ago. If you look at it now, it's less than 8%. So we have a problem in terms of progression of our Black and minor ethnic staff moving into senior roles. And that's really very important.
Why do you think that is though? Why do you think that, you know, there's various policies and procedures, there's so many guidelines within the organization. Why, and if you consider years ago, for example, as we've actually had some senior nurses, they certainly didn't have those policies and procedures in place. And then, as much as
I can't hear you very well.
But yet again, we haven't moved. But in your opinion, it's not enough. So why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, we in those days, way back then, we always have policies and
Nice.
procedure, but we have progressed in terms of research, clinical
Yeah.
practice, outcome driven. So, you know, there has been quality of care has changed and those things. But if we're talking about promotion and transparency,
yes, yes.
it has to do with culture and behavior. And we talk about institutional racism, which still exists. It exists way back then. It still exists. It probably was in a much more covert way, but it is still there. So, you know, our nurses and midwives, our healthcare professionals in the system, it's how we are going to work with them to navigate the system to get to those positions, because it is difficult. And we still need about educating managers within the NHS. You see, the culture has to change. We keep saying, you know, we're doing many things. Now, I've been around for quite a long time. We had the 10-point plan from Nigel Chris many years ago. We now have RES, the Workforce Quality Indicator.
Yes,
and if you compare both of those, not very much has changed. So it has to do with our behavior, our unconscious bias. How do managers and the systems we work in sometimes help us? But I don't think that is all. I think we have a responsibility to also look at ourselves and invest in ourselves to get good mentoring, coaching, and to be clear. I think career pathway at times, we get into the system and we're not quite clear when I do mentoring coaching. So where do you see yourself going? So if we understand what we want at time, I'm not saying it's easy, because myself and many people on the platform will say there has been many challenges and it's just never been easy to climb the ladder. And you have to be resilient, you have to be determined, you have to be strong, you have to be someone who is ready to put your head above the parapet, which I have done, and I've done it for other people because I'm continuing to mentor and to coach now with different people that I'm coaching up to last week. And some of the things that they're talking about are things that I've experienced and things that a number of people are still experiencing. So there has to be about education, behavioral changes, and culture and behavior is one of the most difficult things to change within an organization.
Most definitely. That is exactly it, because you've actually managed to achieve great things within your career path, whether it's been nursing and as an academic and that sort of thing. And for you to step into coaching, what made you want to step into coaching?
Well, for me, as I said, it's very important that we put our hand out and look at the next generation, the third and fourth generation. We are not going anywhere. We're staying here. So we have to do something about the younger generation coming up. So if we, you know, we have to help those nurses and midwives and the young people coming up. And by doing that, it's being role models, it's helping and mentoring, coaching, and helping them to navigate or to be clear. So, you know, I used to say to people, have you got a coach? Have you got a mentor? Do you know where you would like to go? I would like to do this, I'll do that. You need to be focused. So you need someone to help you to carve out, this is where I like to go. How am I going to do it? And help them to talk through what they'd like to do. So I think it's very important in terms of the next generation. We have to support them. We have to motivate them. The narrative has to change. Because when I speak to many, I spoke at a college the other day, when I speak to many of the younger generation across the Caribbean, they don't want to come in the profession. And rightly so, we'll say, yes, we'll say, yes, that's good, that's okay, we've had a hard time. But my question is, we're not moving from here, we're going to be here. So if we have no nurses from the Caribbean sitting around the table and having a voice and an advocate for us, who's going to do it for us? So we need to change the behaviors, the practice. Do not say, do not come into nursing, because we need people like us to be there to be advocates and to actually influence policies that will affect our generation.
Most definitely, and it's actually easier, or yes, that's slightly easier to change it from within. So as you actually said, you mentioned, it is tough. It is very, very tough. It can be very isolating support around you, especially as you climb to the more senior level. It can be so stressful as you just said. So, and you're actually part of this, you've just said that you, where are we now? The Caribbean Nurses and Midwife Association. So that, I'm sure in your opinion, is actually useful in is that right? Did you agree?
I didn't hear you actually, it was distorted.
Sorry about that. Because as you said, you're actually the president of the Caribbean and Midwives Association. So how do you feel? I mean, obviously you're the president. So that within that service alone is a great support mechanism, people from the Caribbean and so on, and in terms of midwifery.
Definitely.
In your opinion, that is essential?
Yes, I mean, the Caribbean Nurses and Midwifery Association is a new organization, but it has learned, as myself, through the Nurses Association of Jamaica UK, that has been around for 43 years. That organization demonstrates what we're talking about. They've been there for a very long time in terms of supporting nurses and helping them when they first came here. I mean, the founder members for the Caribbean Nurses Association saw a need when we're doing some work with the workforce across UK, when they're asking me, where are the Caribbean nurses? Very few of us. So that is about bringing the Caribbean nurses together, one voice to support not just the Jamaican Nurses Association is unique in its own way. That will never go. And so with all the organizations. But what we found out that many of the other islands, which is about 17 Caribbean islands, do not have an association. They're not together. So since we have formed this association, we've had about 150 or more people who have come together from across the Caribbean. We're together, we are stronger. We can share, we can learn. And sometimes some of the issues we want, as I was on a panel the other day, they talked about one of the things we need to learn to do is have a strong voice as a Black group of people. We might have our own organization, but sometimes if we come together as a Black group of people to actually address some of the issues we have, probably we'll get somewhere. But sometimes we're all doing something different. And that's good because we're unique. But sometimes there's some issues that we really need to put our heads together and to tackle those issues as a collective. And I think if you look at the CARICOM across
I think it's important.
Caribbean, 17, 18, all the
CARICOM,
and the High Commissions, they come together, they're working together for the betterment of the Caribbean islands. So it's the same principle, and it's about education, development, and trying to make sure we work together.
And it's, as you said, it's important, for all the Caribbean islands to come together. Together, strength in numbers. You've got the same sort of, generally, the same sort of battles or struggles and that sort of thing. So we've got to realise together, the strength in numbers is the way forward.
Well, yes, I still think that the uniqueness of different organisations should not be wiped out. But because they're important. And as we learn from each other, there's no reason why we can't come together. But I think from a Caribbean Nurses Association, because there are many of the islands who have now joined, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, all of them, they haven't got an association, so coming together and supporting, and that's part of developing and sharing, because that's what we found within the organization. Experiences, most of them are in practice, they've got different experience, they've got different skills. They're supporting each other in their development, and we have different clusters. One is about the youth, one is about education, one is about research, one is about how you prepare, the nurses for the future. So, we can work together. And you've got the diaspora organization of community of nurses, which are the African nurses, the Filipino nurses, and all of that.
Precisely.
The issues we have in NHS are the same issues they're fighting.
Precisely.
So we don't have to do it in silos, because if we come together as a force in terms of the real issues that are still existing, harassment, bullying, no promotion.
You see, the thing about it is also, it's just unfortunate we just haven't got all the time to go into everything. But it's so broad because we've not had something like this before, you see. And hopefully there'll be another one of these chats and discussions. It's so, because there's so much to talk about, and we're such a pioneers in doing this. So thank you very, very much. It's been a great honor talking to you today, earlier on today, and having you on the platform. Thank you very much for your kind contribution.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, more than welcome.
Okay.
Thank
Absolutely
you. Thank
beautiful,
you.
Paulette. Thank you so much. Hi, Jackie. I'm just letting you know I'm here, back in my house, all the way from.
Where are you, Jack? Hello,
I'm
Jack.
here. You're doing a fantastic, formidable job. I can see Dwayne there. Dwayne, I just wanted to know, are we okay for time? If we go up until 9 o'clock, because the link's till 9, does it go over, or how does it work, brother?
Yes, we're still good. We're still with the crowdfunding. We've used some of the funding to pay for extra electric, so we're good to go beyond 9. We've paid the bill.
Beautiful. Okay, Jackie, you keep going. I'm here with you now. Just letting you know that if you want to, bounce off me, I'm here as well. I'm just listening to you, doing a wonderful job, though.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, by the way, just letting you know, there's some amazing people in the house, so many people, too much to shout out, but a lot of the people who are in the book are actually in the house. So if anybody
which is wonderful, really.
Wonderful. So before you go to Betty, just let them know that if they want to ask a question, they can raise their hand and you will be facilitating. And I'll if you need me, I'll be helping you out, sis. Go ahead. Hello, Betty.
Hello, Jack.
Lovely lady. Hello.
Please.
Betty.
Jackie, I'm pleased to see you and see what you look like. And
I am pleased to see you, Betty.
I must support Paul. I think Paul
I've moved into your home now.
Yes, yes.
Quite content to
I've spoken.
And I'm really enjoying this evening.
I've spoken to you so many times.
Nurses and everything like that. I personally think that, quite honestly, we nurses have been hiding ourselves under bushel, but it's gradually coming to light. And we must especially thank that man who, Mr. Bourne, is it?
Stephen Bourne.
Stephen Bourne, yes.
Stephen Bourne.
Yes, I would like a talk or something from him. He seems a very interesting man. But all in all, I think, Jack, you have unearthed something. It's really helping us to come to the fore and to be noticed. Our contribution, that nurse at the London hospital, that was really, really very good. I really enjoyed that history. And also the one that was given by, where is she? The person from I think it was, what's her name? Dawn?
Dawn's Hill's not on yet. Is it someone that's already been on the platform?
Yes. She spoke about
Paulette Lewis?
No, Paulette, that's what I said. Paulette is doing a great job.
Okay.
Yes,
So who are you referring to?
Yeah.
Violet Hill?
What are we talking about? Was it Marsha? You're talking about
yes, Marsha.
Marsha.
Yes.
Marsha, the PhD student. Yes, she was brilliant.
That's right. That PhD student. That is really great. I don't know where you found these people from, Jack, but you have done a great job. You've really raised the profile of. Is this going to be on YouTube?
Dwayne?
No, the whole thing. This program.
Oh yes, we will. It will be on. It's recorded and will be on YouTube. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yeah. So,
right, Betty. Let me introduce you. Just move over a little bit. Can you just move over? Can you just move over to your, so that I can get more? Yeah, that's better. So we can see you. I think you're a bit muted now. I can hardly hear you. Am I able to hear you?
Yes, I can hear you, but I'm not. I didn't come today.
You didn't come to what? Sorry?
I didn't come today to speak.
What do you mean? What do you mean? We've been talking all day. I've moved into your home. What do you mean? I was talking to you many times. Oh, it's just love. It's just, honestly, I'm so, Jack, I've got to say, and to the rest of the panel, what have you, and people behind the scene, I am so moved and humble. I am so humble to be part of this platform and so humble to meet all these wonderful people. I am truly,
You're doing a beautiful job. You're doing a beautiful job, Jackie.
Yeah,
it means a lot to me. It's more than words can say, I can tell you.
Fantastic.
But let me just introduce you.
Well, I don't think Betty wants to say anything, so maybe you should go to the next one.
You don't want to
Yeah.
speak, but did you say
He
not
doesn't
at
want
all,
to.
Betty? Why? Nothing.
Dad.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, you said you're enjoying the time here anyway, so that which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Nice meeting you, Betty. You take care. Enjoy the rest of the show. Okay. You take care. All right. Okay. Let's see who we've got next. Who have we got next? There,
We've got Wendy.
Wendy's actually we've had to move that around, which I actually said to Dwayne because she's got to look after children. So she wants to be the last person to come.
So we can bring on John Myers. John Myers is actually available. Yes.
I know, Joan. Joan, are you there?
No. Hi. Let's make it a bit brighter. Yes.
Hi, Joan.
Hi there. How are you?
Hi, Joan. Hi. It's so wonderful. I haven't seen you for such a long time.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Good to see you too. Looking beautiful as always.
Oh gosh, Joan and I, we go back many years, many years. And Joan's actually worked in the service for over 35 years, and so have I. So we've got a lot of things in common. How are you enjoying it so far, Joan?
It's been fascinating to know that there's been people here from before Windrush. Yeah. So the Nigerian nurse that was here from whenever, and the Jamaican nurse that came over in 1955? And the one that was here from 1915 or whatever. It seems way beyond. The nurse from Manchester, and all I know it's the way the person that explained about the smells when she walked onto the ward and the things they had to do, and the things that the patient said. I mean, it's happening today. It's like time hasn't changed.
Oh, that's not good. You see,
I know Paulette has mentioned about some of the positive things, but people are saying exactly the same things are happening now.
See, that's the thing. You see, that's quite sad to hear, John. Before we go into, I know you can introduce yourself anyway, so I'll let you do that because I've got information on you. But on the whole, that is really, really sad to hear. That is sad to hear that you're saying from your point of view, and yes, you've actually stepped away from the NHS, although you're still doing lots of things. You've got your own business. You've been involved in Nightingale to do the COVID. You've done lots and lots and lots and lots of things. But for you to say that we haven't moved that much.
We moved 2 steps forward and then 10 steps backwards. So we all rejoice when we see another Black or minority ethnic person in a senior position. But if you were to check and look back, not many of them stay in those positions for very long.
That's exactly what I said. It's the recruitment's there, but it's the retention. And that's the thing. You know, as you come, you've done great things, Joan, but it's lonely. It's a case of once you're climbing the ladder, it seems like you have to follow a particular narrative. And if you don't follow that narrative, you're out.
That's right.
So the challenges become great.
But I mean, I think what's really helped me along the way, I've had phenomenal coaches and people surrounding me, people like Paulette Lewis, MBE on the line, Dr. Nola Ishmael, OBE, Dr. Neslin Watson-Drury, CBE, Lynette Phillips, OBE. I mean, I've had some phenomenal support. If I didn't have them surrounding me, and they're just the ones that I'm mentioning now, there's more that I can call upon at any time to support me. I mean, Dame Donna Kinnair as another one to support me. I mean, I've always had very good support around.
And can I just say, before we actually say about your background and your achievement, can I just say from my point of view, you've also been there for me.
Amen. I'm there for anybody that I can support and help.
You have been there for me. So we've been there for each other. And that's quite important. Once you actually work in the NHS, as I said again, it can be very, very lonely and very challenging. And it's a case of the fittest of the fittest will survive. So so if anyone does actually know you, and I think you can do it better than me, Joan. Okay, so Joan Myers, take away. This is your floor. You introduce yourself, I think.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Joan Myers. I came into nursing I qualified in 1985 and I retired in 2019 from the NHS. So I started off as a registered general nurse, which there were not many at that time. I was like one of the only senior Black nurses around from 1985 onwards. And most of the areas that I worked in, I was like the manager managing a group of white nurses, and it was very rare at that time to see another Black senior nurse. But I remembered when I worked at Guy's and Tommy's there was a black nursing officer called Maxine Burnham, I think her name was. She was a nursing officer, and she asked me, where do I see myself in 3 years' time? And she was the one that was supporting, mentoring, and helping so many people to get up the ladder. But then one day they made these changes in the NHS, and they decided that if you haven't got a qualification to prove the position that you're in, then you can't stay in those positions. And I remembered she was demoted from being the nursing officer to becoming a band 7 nurse in outpatients in Lewisham Hospital, from being at Guy's Hospital as a nursing officer to being an outpatients nurse band 7 at Lewisham Hospital. And I always remembered her saying to me, where do you see yourself next? And I made a point from then that I'd have a certificate, a piece of paper to prove every single qualification, every single position I wanted. Whether I wanted to be an eczema nurse, I went and did an eczema course. I wanted to be a manager, I did a managerial course. I wanted to work in the community, I did the district nursing course. I even worked with Charlene, I don't know if she remembered me, but they did the sickle cell and hemoglobinopathy course, and they were running the course, and that was one of the courses that I did in the community, my diploma, that gave me the courage to go on and do other courses.
That is such an achievement. That is such an achievement. Just for what you said, I mean, can I just say there's far more that Jones has actually done, but just sticking with this for a moment, that is actually key to not pigeonhole yourself, I'd actually say, in the NHS. It's where possible to seek out those trainings, seek out those opportunities, shadow people. Shadowing is key. And not to wait for your manager to elevate you. Okay?
Very important, because I think many times, many of our people are waiting for their managers to leave their job so they can take their manager's job. They often complain that they're more qualified than their manager, but that's not the point. The point is they're in the role they're in, and the manager's in the role that they're in. If you want that role, you need to, my motto is go where you're celebrated, don't stay where you're tolerated.
That is true.
Anytime you're denigrated, you will never be appreciated. And I like to kill it before it starts. So if they start with any foolishness and nonsense, I would deal with it head on, regardless of who they are.
Right, can you just go back?
To where I am, because I just tell people straight and they know it.
Right. So, Joan, go back again. Can you repeat that again for people that's actually listening, for people that's actually facing universities, in the workplace, wherever? Can you repeat that again for people listening to you, that you said about staying where you're not?
Go where you're celebrated. Do not stay where you're tolerated. Anytime that you are denigrated, you will never be appreciated. And often the nurses will stay in one job for 10 years, applying for the next level up, not getting it. And they see the student nurse that they trained up, that they mentored, qualifying, working on the ward, and then getting promoted above them, and they're being told to support that nurse that they trained.
And sometimes they train them.
Told
precisely.
They apply for the job and were told that they're incapable of doing it, or haven't got the competency to do it, or they were pipped to the post. But yet, still, the person that comes in post can't do the job, and they get told that they need to support that person and train them up. I said, you don't have to. It's not in your job description. If they've got the job and they're higher than you, what are you training them for? And that was one of the things I did when I was training student nurses that were becoming they were graduate entry nurses. So they were all going to be graduate, have a degree as well as a registration when they qualified. And I had my registration, but I didn't have a degree. And so I said to my manager, if you want me to train people to become degree nurses, then you need to pay for me or send me off to do my degree as well. And she said, no, we can't do that. I goes, okay, then I won't train them. And then she had to change her mind because they needed me to train them because I was a senior person there.
Wow.
So they paid for me to do my my degree. And then when it came to doing my master's, and that's another thing, many of us are having all these bits of papers of PhD. I know somebody who's got how many PhDs and how many degrees and everything, and they're still at a band 5, band 6 level and not going anywhere, because it's not about what's on paper. It's about the competencies and skills that they've got and the ability to work at that level and be able to speak to people at that level. And that's why when you mention shadowing, you need to shadow people. You need to spend time with people at the level of where you want to go. So when I wanted to be a nurse consultant, when Tony Blair mentioned about the nurse, he developed the nurse, he talked about the nurse consultant role. In 1998, I heard him say, we're going to create nurse consultants. There's only going to be 1,000 throughout the whole of the UK, and the minimum salary will be 40,000. And in 1998, 40,000 was a whole lot of money, especially for a nurse. They will be on the same level as a doctor. And I said, I'm going to be one of those. And straight away, I did research into it, and I found any nurse consultant, wherever they were. I got in contact with them, asked them for their job description, matched it up against what I had and what I needed to do, shadowed them. But I still didn't believe I could become a nurse consultant because I never saw a Black nurse consultant. But one year I was doing a Black leadership program. So I was doing a Black leadership program, and I saw Dr. Kathy Shenko, OBE, nurse consultant services. She's working in Camden. And I thought, she's Black, she's a nurse consultant. It must be possible. So when I saw her, 9 months later, I became the first and only nurse consultant for community children's nursing in the whole of the UK. And I think it was because I saw somebody else like myself in that role, so it gave me the added confidence to apply.
You see, the thing about it is also, Joan, part of it is, as I said again, a lot of it is about self-belief. You will have in your lifetime, I'm just generalizing, people, even within our community, that will tell us it's not possible. Okay? And I would actually say, we've got to make sure that we maneuver ourselves from people who just sit with negativity and to align ourselves with people that can elevate us and encourage us.
And that's what I do. So that's what I do. I like to empower, encourage, and enable others to see themselves in that particular role and believe in themselves. Because I was told when I was at school that I was below O-level standard and incapable of writing an essay. Oh, wow. They told my mother that I was wasting my time, her time, and their time, and advised my mum to let me just leave school and go and work in Sainsbury's. My teacher used to call me out of the class and tell me how thick and stupid I was, and that while I was out in that school, that I should go to the school down the road, and told me that by the time I was 16, I would be pregnant, have one in the pushchair, another one hanging off the end of the pushchair. That's what the teacher used to say to me. And my mum, and being a West Indian Jamaican mother, I got my Jamaican cloth on, hope you notice. I'll put it on especially for today. My mother being Jamaican, believing what the teachers say, I had to beg my mother. I said, I did used to mess about in school, I must admit, because I talk a lot. I didn't realize my talking was my gift and my talent, but obviously I was using it when I should have been learning my lesson. But I used to learn the lesson quick, and then the class was boring, and so I had to talk and ask questions. So what can I do? So the teacher wanted me to leave the school. I begged my mum. I did fail my O-levels first time, second time, and then I suddenly thought, I'm living up to their prophecy of me. It's what they say. Just because they said it doesn't mean it has to happen. Precisely. And I realized it was up to me. So I thought, right, I'm going to prove them all wrong. And I went on to do 8 O-levels, and I did 2 A-levels, but I didn't finish the A-levels because I got into doing my nursing, and you only needed 5 O-levels to do that. And then I did my general training, my specialized course, my diplomas, and it wasn't until I did my degree, it wasn't until I did my master's, and I got my results back. The day after my results, I woke up in the morning, the first thing that came into my mind was, you've got your master's. And I thought, how did I get my master's? They told me I was below O-level standard and incapable of writing an essay. And although I'd done all those other courses, it was only then that it sunk in. I actually cried. I remember phoning my mum, and my mum said, yes, John, you tell me, say you passed yesterday. Everybody know you passed already. She just thought, why am I going on about it? It's because it just suddenly came to me after all those years that I am capable, I am competent and able to do what the teacher said I couldn't do.
So this yet again is about self-belief. It really is. And I know you do a lot of public speaking as well. I know you very much, charities abroad in Kenya. I know you're involved in the Director of Children's Services. You've done Nightingale, to do the COVID. You've done a lot, and you're not stopping. You're not stopping. You've been on TV. Alan Titchmarsh, he's done your garden for you. I saw that. You rang me. We spoke on saying, and if anyone doesn't know, Alan Titchmarsh done Joan's garden up for her.
The garden program. It was on TV. I was in the park today doing my exercises, and this guy said, I saw you on TV yesterday.
And you're purple, you love the colour purple.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but you've done amazing things.
But the thing is, I want to support and help other people.
You just asked. I've just going to ask you that question.
They could do so much more. Just because somebody said like when I got my Queen's Nurses, I thought I was a Queen's Nurse anyway. But I felt, because I did the district nursing course, but no, you have to apply and you have to demonstrate all these different things. So when I did it, I saw only 2 other Black people there, and I told them, I'm going to make sure that I find at least 100 Black community nurses that can be a Queen's, do the Queen's nurses, become a Queen's nurse. And everywhere I go, I tell every Black person I know that's working, it's for community nurses. So I just tell them about the process, what they need to do, go on the website and find out. Those that want to go up in leadership, do the Florence Nightingale Found Scholarship. They give you scholarships, or the Mary Seacole Scholarship Development and Leadership Awards. I used to be working at the Department of Health, looking at the review of that and encouraging nurses to do that, because those are the kind of awards that you can get where you demonstrate your ability that can take you to the next level. There's something for everyone. And don't wait for them to give it to you. You just need to be around the right people that can support you when you want to do it. Yeah, well done, well done, well done. It's just that I could listen to you for, I know we'll be talking a bit, I haven't spoken for a while, but I'm so blown away by your and lots of people who's actually presented here today on your achievements. It's just beyond words, really. And just going back to Nubian Jack and what this stands for, and to recognise like the likes of you and everyone else that's actually presented on the panel so far, just the great achievements. What is so important really is to make sure that the other generation, because what's been said time and time again, and I do a lot of things with young people, I do things to do knife and gun crime. I talk to a lot of children and young people, that sort of thing, is that they don't see people achieving. It's not actually in the public domain. So people like you, there are achievers. It's actually saying that, yes, you can do it. It may be hard, but it's about persevering. And that to me, I think is key. Would you not say? And it's about role modeling, as you said, it's about role modeling as well. So when I first became a nurse consultant, that was in 2003, I was asked to go to a school in Lambeth because they were teaching the children about the NHS, and most of the Black children there didn't believe it was any point going to the NHS because you won't get to a top position. Their parents were telling them, don't become a nurse, you don't want to work there, they're going to treat you bad. That's what my mom told me, don't become a nurse, they're going to treat you bad. I mean, I had to beg mom, I said, I want to do nurse, I don't want to be anything else. But at this school in Lambeth, they wanted me to come along as a proof, as a role model, that as a Black nurse, you can go up the ladder. And when I asked my manager, I was working in Islington at Whittington, and when I asked the director, I told her that I was coming down to Lambeth, she goes, what are you doing in South London when you're actually supposed to be up here in North London? And I said, it's because they need me as an example, because there's not many people like me. And she made me promise to keep my Islington PCT badge on with nurse consultant from Islington to go down to Lambeth to talk to them about being a nurse, that it's possible to go up the ladder. But following that, she asked me to go to the schools in Islington to speak to the children in school. So I went into fantastic, actually. So that's what I like to do. I like to tell anybody and everybody that will listen to me that you can go further, you can go higher, and you could do and you could achieve whatever you want to achieve. Because my sister told me, I remember when I did my exams, for good, some of you know it here, for good, better, best, never let it rest until you're good with better and you're better best. And if at first you don't succeed, try and try and try again. And my best one is be persistent, insistent, and consistent. And even when you get resistance, there will always be somebody to give you assistance, and it will help you to get there in the end. What a note, what a note. I hope everyone's listening to that. What a note to end on. Joan, I am honestly, my friend, I thank you. I really, really, really thank you. As I said again, this cannot be, if Jack's on board and what have you. I don't know if Jack's actually there. Is Jack there?
I'm here. I just wanted to say, Joanne, you was the very final admission to the book, actually. Wow. So yeah, your actual article. I've just got in. Thank you, Jack, for putting me in there. I'm so pleased. Thank you. I'm honoured. It's not me. It was the team effort, and Miranda was the one that actually looked you up and found you, and Jackie gave us a great feedback about you. So you've been wonderful. Thank you for your contribution tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Jacqueline, for finding me. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And thank you for the fantastic work you're doing, Jack, because it's all history. Thank you. Jackie, I think we should change. We should go now to Wendy, because Wendy would like to say something. Wendy's like our African voice. I'm also a little bit concerned about the time, because there's a lot of people on who we do want to get. Yes. So let's maybe kind of speed things up a little bit so we can get some questions and answers as well. And by the way, if anybody wants to start throwing in some questions now, please do. But we hand over to the wonderful Wendy Olayewola. Immensely proud to have you on the platform, Wendy.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Jackie and Wendy.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure why you decided to bring me at the back
Hello,
of
Wendy.
Myers.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You haven't been nice to me at all.
Why?
You're right at the back of my favorite role model. I should come first, then she's supposed to be right behind me. Well, such an honor and a delight to be here and to be speaking after her.
Do you know what? Everyone that's come on this platform today is actually a role model. They're actually a real role model for our community. So we stand on each and everyone's shoulders. So thank you, Wendy. Thank you for coming on. Right, okay, as Jax actually said, you're a trained nurse who came from a medical background. You're president of the Nigerian Nurses Charity Association UK and the proud connoisseur of NHS, and at 17 Nigerian Healthcare Professionals UK Awards 2019, as a member of the Chief Nursing Officer, Black and Minority Ethnics, that BME thing, yes, that controversy one there, yes, group, and CNO, and Department of Health and of NHS, England, and you sit on many boards, including Diaspora Professional Plus Healthcare Initiative, working across groups. You've done loads. I mean, you can tell us really, you can fill in the rest of the gaps there, Wendy, because it goes on, it goes on.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I'm very humble. And I wonder what I have done, because again, if you look at those people behind me, I'm still really a baby, you know. So yes, it's a step at a time that some of us are still taking.
You're actually also an honorary lecturer at the universities as well, a public health midwifery. Is that right?
I'm a registered nurse and a registered midwife. Actually, this is what I say. I said I am a registered nurse and a practicing midwife. So currently, I'm a practicing midwife.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Look, let me just dive straight in there, actually. And, you know, let's just address part of this elephant in the room. And I'm not quite sure some people are actually aware of the mortality, you know, talking about Black women, you know where I'm going with this.
I should have told you I'm a practicing nurse, so you will ask that question.
Oh, I didn't want to put you in the spot.
That's okay, my darling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to put you in the spot. Is that okay?
That's fine. Let's talk about it. The elephant in the room,
yeah, it's this mortality, and there's a lot of issues about Black people and Black women in childbirth and that sort of thing. Can you just tell us what some of the problems are? Because if we're actually 2021 and we're still facing some of these issues now, what's happening here?
Jacqueline, I think it's multifactorial issues actually, and I'm sure we all know about the report. There are a lot of reports and evidence around these issues of, if you look like me and yourself or from brown community, you're 4 times more likely actually as a Black woman. And then if you're a mixed ethnicity, you're 3 times more likely. And if you are from Asian background, you're 2 times more likely. So black people always have it more, isn't it?
So let's expand on that bit again. You've mentioned those figures, but for those who do not understand, can you expand a bit on what you mean?
More likely to die, you know,
precisely
pregnancy, you know, yes, that's what the data says. However, saying that, why are those issues? We do know that deprivation, you know, is an issue. It's one of the risk factors. So for Black women, there are more people living in deprived areas.
Deprivation.
So again, if you live in most deprived areas, you're 3 times more likely to die in pregnancy. And in addition to that, especially for Black women, many women that, you know, by the time they get pregnant, they are already 33%, you know, obese. So again, it's about within our community to start talking about what are the issues, what are the things that we can address in terms of our health, preconception education needs to start happening, and those conversations needs to start taking place. Smoking is another issue, because if you're a smoker, you are more at risk. If you're obese, you are more at risk. So there are a lot of comorbidity. Sorry, that words I always twist my tongue. Comorbidities that is associated with Black women, and those are the issues in terms of our lifestyle, what we eat.
You're saying it's lifestyle choices.
Say that again.
You're saying it's lifestyle choices.
It is very
Is that what you're
much
saying?
lifestyle choices as well. In addition to lifestyle choices, again, it's also about, what do we understand in terms of the UK culture when it comes to maternity. When you're pregnant, it does not matter if it's just 1 week or 2 weeks, engage with the service.
Yeah.
Not engage with maternity services at the right time, promptly. There are a lot of things that, when we get pregnant, right from 9 weeks, there's some text that needs to be run, i.e., for example, I really appreciated who spoke around sickle cell. So as Black communities, if we get engaged with maternity services on time, in time, promptly, then there's some services that we will be able to engage with, but we don't normally. And also, and that comes with different cultures as well, because again, in African culture, there is this notion that if you are not up to or more than 3 months or 12 weeks pregnant, you don't let your community know or your family member knows.
Yeah, that's right. That still exists, actually, isn't it? It still exists.
Those are the things that we need to start putting behind the myth.
Yes.
We need to start putting behind ourselves. Because even if you don't want your family or your community to know that you're pregnant, that is fine. But let your midwife know, and they will keep that secret with you until you're ready to disclose it with your family members.
It's all those myths, and we've got to get over those hurdles.
Yes, early engagement and access is very important.
What I was also informed as well, actually, not so much now, but I'd actually say it's always been an issue as far as I was actually made aware. And some of the horrific things I've actually heard is about pain relief, because there's this still thing about Black women being strong and can sustain various pains and that sort of thing. To me, I would actually say, and I've heard some horrific, but the person's not on the platform. I'm hoping I can talk to her later on. But I've heard some horrific things about pain relief. And can you expand on that and lack of?
Thank you for bringing that on. It's quite interesting because this go across many continents, really, even in America, that Black women are very strong and they endure or they manage their pains very well. Hence, many healthcare professionals just assume that as well, which is really wrong. And pain is what we say it is, and also for us as well as Black women, Black community, when we are out there and we are in pain, we should actually describe it and do not hold on to it. I think the myth there again is very much around culture. So if I go to the hospital now, if my mother is with me, just breathe in, breathe out, you don't need that pain relief. I think within our culture, we really need to deal with that even before we start engaging with the system, with the maternity system. Because then if you're in pain, you're in pain. And I can use my own sister as an example. She didn't even want to take epidural.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I did say to her, nobody's going to give you an award, for not having pain relief because you're actually suffering. I think it's about actually now saying that we are in pain because, again, that education and training for healthcare professionals is going around now that, especially for Black women.
Yeah.
So many of us do hold on to our pain. Our threshold it's been assumed that it's very high. And for Asian women, it's been assumed is very low. So again, I think for us, it's about, I am in pain, saying it as it is. And do not pretend about it. Do not be quiet about it. Do not suffer in silence. If you don't get what you need, escalate. Ask for the manager.
At the early stages as well.
And
at the early stages is key.
Talk about what you want for your pain relief. There are many options for pain relief in labor.
Right.
And I think that's what we need to start talking before you get to labor, during your antenatal period, antenatal clinic, talk about what you want for labor, and what type of pain and options that you want to explore while you're in labor.
Can you just tell me, because talking about actually and speaking up, that's what you're basically saying, speaking up. Because if you think about sort of like my mother's, generation, what have you, having her children, what have you, and a lot of people can resonate on the platform, then midwives were actually seeing them some sort of ogre, not very caring and passionate about people in labor. Yes, put up with it. You can sustain the pain. You've got to not, you've got to sustain the not cry out and all that sort of thing, and we are really sort of social conditioned really to hold on to a lot of things, and that's not always easy, even with our own culture. Okay, we are conditioned to be strong, to even not to show any weakness in any way, whatever that may be. It is hard, it's not easy. And then also with a wider community, that's how we actually perceive us as well. So to build up that confidence, which is actually going to enable them to say, look here, this is my issues, I need your help. And to think that to engage at the beginning, asking for help, is not a sign of weakness. It's actually empowering you, that you're actually seeking the support that's required. Would you say that?
And I totally agree with you, Jacqueline, especially when it comes to mental health, postnatal depression, again, which is kind of a taboo still within or amongst African Caribbean community, that is okay. But now we are talking about it's okay not to be okay, trying to voice out if you are not okay. However, again, I think it's both ways, that the British culture or the white people needs to understand our culture as well as we are understanding their culture. And we have different languages that we use when it comes to different things. For instance, amongst Black community, when a Black woman is saying, I am stressed, or a newly mother is saying, I am stressed, it may be actually they are depressed. Yeah. So you need to get to the bottom of it. And we are actually a community of beliefs, values, and faith. So it's important that we are not very negative in what we think and how we express ourselves. So again, it's about healthcare professionals, getting to understand those individual communities, that how do they express themselves when it comes to issues like postnatal depression, issues like mental health. What are the languages that they use that can flag, that would be a red flag? Because if I just had my baby, how dare me saying to my mother to say that I'm losing it? No.
Well, that's exactly it.
I'm not losing it.
That's exactly it.
If an healthcare professional comes to my house, I will not even tell her that I am depressed. I will probably say I am stressed, but actually it is depression.
Yeah, so talking about that.
Saying, okay, let's dig more.
Yes, precisely.
Yes. So those are the things. But again, I think, we actually hone it to ourselves. I think we are accountable to our community to educate them, to say there are a lot of support out there that we need to tap into. And we need to get out of this cultural, as we put it under one word. The services are now being tailored, by the way, to be culturally sensitive and culturally safe. So when they are managing to do all that, and I think as a community, we also need to embrace that, to come out that this is how we want our services to be designed for us. Because if you are not engaging, if you are not inputting into things, then they will not be able to know how to design the service for us. So it's two-way. It's a two-way relationship.
Yeah, I understand that. That's very, very important. Because going back to what you actually said about mental health and that sort of thing, and even, postnatal depression, before all that sort of thing, anything to do with mental health issues, as a culture, as you just said, that is still a taboo amongst our community. And to get people to be comfortable enough to say, look, I am not okay. I do need help. Can you help me? Instead of just saying, come on, get over it. What's wrong with you? I think we've still got a long way to go. Would you say that?
I think the journey has started in terms of what we know now. Definitely we still have a long way to go. And generations, I guess my own generation gets it now, and probably my children get it more. you know. So again, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel for us. And it's just about the whole community and the village to becoming a village raises a child, as they say. You know, I think for now, it's just to educate and support and empower our communities to say it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to speak out, and it's also to engage with different services that pertains to us.
Yeah, I think that is actually key. Actually, that is really, really key. So just tell me quickly about how you actually when you came over here, what your experiences of your NHS background, your family experiences, and how you actually came into nursing and midwifery.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Jacqueline? My mother is a retired nurse. She retired in Nigeria as a chief nursing officer, and then she came here, worked, and then retired as a staff. And my father was biochemist. He's a scientist and lecturer, and then came to this country and did that. And then towards the later part of his life, unbelievably, became a mental health nurse. I'm retired as a mental health nurse. And I think when I chose this pathway, my parents were, especially my father, who wanted me to become a doctor, wasn't really surprised that I was following my mother's step, really. Being the first of the 6 children, I'm always a caring person, loving, and always put myself last and put the rest forward. So when I went into nursing, it was an interesting journey for me, I must say, which obviously tonight wouldn't be the day of it to tell my whole story. But what I remembered very well that John actually said that that resonated very well with me was when I was doing my access course to go into nursing training in Lambeth College. I remember then that I completed a UCAS form to go for my degree, and my lecturer at the time said to me, "How dare you? Everyone on that cohort, that course, were applying for diploma nursing." And he didn't think I was going to be good for, going for a degree. I had to go for diploma. And I said to her, "Watch me." She said, "I can't do it." I said, "Watch me do it." And I did it. I went to Buckinghamshire University, being the first, again, the only Black on my cohort. And it was a big of challenge. It was nice. It was nice to be the only Black person, I must say. However, I think my challenges at that time towards the end of my course was, for my dissertation, I wrote about sickle cell anemia. And my lecturer did not have a clue. She was going to mark my dissertation, but she did not have a clue about what sickle cell was. And a first class dissertation were going to be dropped down into two, first class honors was going to drop down into two, second upper class because they didn't understand what it was. But I had to challenge that because what she was really marking me down. And because my dad was a lecturer and he had insight into it, he gave me a lot of questions to ask my lecturer, that I was happy to actually educate the lecturer that was meant to mark my dissertation. So that was a big, huge challenge of getting my first class as a first Black student nurse in Buckinghamshire. I mean, going back to Buckinghamshire, this was about 20 years ago now. You can guess my age by saying that. So going back to Buckinghamshire a couple of weeks ago to lecture was such an honor because they invited me back 20 years on. And it was very, very, very reassuring to see that many of the students are now, about 19% of the students are from Black and Asian background. But again, the challenges of going through the education system as a Black nurse is still very much there, but what has really improved, if I looked back 20 years ago, 20 or so years ago, is we didn't have people like Joan, we didn't have people like Paulette. I didn't anyway. I think I got to know them after so many years of struggling. So if you have many people that looks like us, that we can actually aspire to be like, and when we tap into their experience, they can actually support us, means and goes a long way.
Which is key, really, which is key. Let me just say before we go any further, we were running out of time. That's I wanted to extract so many information out of you. So if people think I'm actually interviewing quite a bit, it's because I wanted to extract as much information out of you as possible, because we spoke earlier on, and that we have some of our guests is not actually around, so we can expand a bit further. But if we can go back a little bit, and you mentioned about your lecture, your tutor was actually going to mark your paper down. This is pertaining to sickle cell. So why was that then? Can you expand a bit more on that?
It was due to lack of knowledge. And I think that's exactly what many of the universities or many of the Black or Asian students are actually going through at the moment in terms of high attrition rates amongst the Black, students. Because if they don't have the lecturers or tutors that looks like them that can support them through their journey, they're going to drop off the course. And in my case, I had all my lecturers were white lecturers, and they never heard about sickle cell anemia before. Many of them didn't know about it. They didn't know the impact of it. They didn't know the ethos of it. They did not have a clue about it.
Okay.
Things that she was marking me down on were the things that could have actually given me more points.
Okay.
My father actually supported me to challenge that process and to provide more insight for her. And that really helped me a lot, because if I didn't have my father, I could have even failed. She was ready to fail me because she didn't have the understanding of that topic. And you could only mark someone well if you do have the understanding of what you're marking.
Okay, which is understandable, but not right. But yes, I understand that. I understand. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that is something really. I think the perseverance and, as you just said, having that good support network around you.
Absolutely. I think it's very key. I think, again, my message for us all, I think it's great that we have this platform to talk about it today. It's just about us coming together and work together more amongst ourselves. I think it's key. And it's important that when we go out there, we don't see us, they see us as Black people. They don't see us as African or Caribbean.
I think
it's important as African and Caribbean to be one and work together, and speak with one voice. It's quite key. So we should stop separating ourselves. Oh, I am Caribbean, I am African. For instance, Paulette, I and Paulette work together a lot. She's such a role model. John Myers, if not for her name, they'll probably think she's a Nigerian because she works with us a lot.
Yeah.
We do have all that in common. It's just to put that message out.
Yeah.
Strengthen unity, and we really need to build that.
I think that because of time, we're really pressured on time, really. But I think that is really a keynote to end it on. It is important that we actually work together. It's not just about African, West Indian, that sort of thing. It's about us coming together and strengthening numbers, really. We're all African people. The struggle is real, and we'll get there if we all sit together. So I cannot thank you enough for attending today. It's been a pleasure listening to you. And thank you, and we'll talk again. Thank you. I've learned a lot from you. Thank you again. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, Jack.
Thank you so much, Jackie. That was a brilliant cheering session. Those questions, I've got no idea where you found those questions from, but they were so necessary. It has actually answered a lot of questions. The responses within the chat is overwhelming, saying, wow, the sentiments and the responses from our nurses, our people, our nurses, our people. Yeah. And I love Wendy's sentiment. We are one. Togetherness. I think Joan also refers to that. In fact, all the nurses seem to refer to that this evening. We are one. And the moment we begin to segregate and separate, it only makes us weaker. Okay.
Precisely. There's a Zulu word that says Ubuntu. Yeah. Ubuntu. That is so key. I'm getting really passionate here, but that's just what I'm actually like. That is so key that we hold together. And as I said again, Jack, yes, you put this on. It's not enough time to cover. It's on your flavor. But it's been such a fantastic evening.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you 1 second? Sorry, it's Joan here. Can I just interrupt you 1 second, Jack, just to say that we had Naomi Bennett, I'm not sure if she's still on the line, but she set up Equality for Black Nurses as a result of so many Black nurses being bullied and harassed in the NHS.
Wow.
And she's doing a phenomenal work. I don't know if she's still on the line, but she set it up last year.
Yes. You can go to her, I think.
There is John, there's Naomi.
Oh, there she is, yeah.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi. It's been really refreshing watching all these amazing nurses. As Joan mentioned, a couple of years ago, I was sitting in my car, minding my own business, and I was ambushed by about 8 white police officers. They dragged me out of my car. I got locked up for absolutely nothing. And it took me 14 months to clear my name. Then after that happened, I realized, although nursing is the most trusted profession in the world, when you're Black, it's not that. So it doesn't work the same for Black nurses. So I set an organisation to support Black nurses, and we've just been overwhelmed with nurses coming to us because nurses are being disproportionately sanctioned. They're being disproportionately sacked. The Nursing and Midwifery Council, who oversee nurses, they get 62% of Black nurses referred to them. It's no case to answer. So employers are using it as a tool. So for me, it's a lot about the environment. They've created a hostile environment, and the only way we can get through this is if we start fighting back. So Equality for Black Nurses, we've got in-house lawyers, we've got therapists, we've got a whole pair of Black nurses supporting each other. You can find us on all the socials. But yeah, thanks for that.
Fantastic. That is really valuable, really valuable.
And I felt it was important to say that because I've been working on the council of the Royal College of Nursing, where we're supposed to be supporting nurses, and I send people to Naomi who could provide the right kind of support for our people. She's phenomenal. She's absolutely phenomenal in what she's done and how she supported so many people recently.
That's amazing. You can see that there's actually a need, and you saw that there's a niche. You saw that there's a need in our community, and for you to take it on and to set it up that everyone can actually access your service for support is actually brilliant, really.
It's brilliant. Pandemic in itself. You know, Black nurses dying on the front line because they're disproportionately being put on the front line. So we've had to take emergency measures and start fighting back.
So,
good on you.
Yeah. As Jacqueline has said, touch the flavour, just sprinkled. Okay, Dr. Margaret's here, so I better use my metaphors right. I'll just be safe. It's the tip of the iceberg. How about Dr. Margaret? It's the tip of the iceberg what we've touched today, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you, everybody. There's so many esteemed people on the platform. Agri Burke, Sylvia McLean, Aina Wallace. All of these people are in the book, and there's so much more. So let me not pontificate, but I want to hand over back to the moderator because I'm not sure, Jacqueline, we have any more speakers left.
No. So
no. When is the book going to be released?
So it's going to be released on the 30th of this month when the statue's installed, and everybody on this platform is invited, of course, notwithstanding social distancing and masks and hand sanitizers, because we're all going to die, But failing us not dying, let's all come out and give COVID the red card and give our nurses the biggest endorsement ever, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And in all seriousness, it's going to be fun. My son has COVID right now. My son at home has COVID, right? And he's just, let's not make light of the situation. He's going to be okay. Obviously, he's going to be okay. He gave him an excuse not to come to my birthday yesterday. In fact, he called me up and said, "Dad, I've got COVID in it." Literally, he said that, COVID in it. And he's in much better spirits today. So, Dwayne, the moderator, you've done a phenomenal job. You have been wonderful too. Kasheni in the background, and of course, Jacqueline, star of the show, and all these wonderful people. Let me hand over back to Dwayne.
Not forgetting my sister, my duet, Pauline
Sabrina.
Foster and Sabrina.
Yes.
Pauline Foster and Sabrina. Yeah. So yeah, great stuff, Jack. Great performance there. Right, we wanted to showcase what we're here about, the crowdfunding. And for those of you who've joined the session late in the day, I am the money man. So I talk money. Can we share the crowdfunding, please? And the last time we looked at it, it was 87.1K. I hope to see an increase in numbers because I have not been watching it deliberately because I felt that, oh, it's still not 8.1.
It no move. It no move.
Yeah, yeah.
It no move at all.
Can we refresh that screen, please? There's got to be a refresher. Maybe there's an issue with the internet, Jack. I suspect that's what it is. I suspect there's an issue with the internet connection. So not to worry, because we know persons in the background are donating heavily. And of course, part of the donation is also supporting it and actually promoting it. Supporting it and promoting this marvelous sentiment. So do share with your colleagues. When you get back to work, once you've gotten off this call today, WhatsApp those networks. I know many of us have got many contacts within our network. Facebook, your Facebook contacts, your WhatsApp contacts, your Twitter contact. I can't remember some of them, Jack. Help me out here. But yeah, please do. Get them through. There you go. TikTok.
Yes.
And we got one called Doc. There's the one called Doc.
Doc, yeah.
Doc. Okay. Just making it up as I go along, Jack. Just making it up.
Brap.
Okay, there you go. See? So look, share the link. Support by donating and then sharing the link, please. Let's listen to some of the individuals who are involved in the actual crowdfunding again, and perhaps that will just further nudge individuals to donate. Can we just play the video, please? We just maximize it. That would be great, please.
Yes.
My name is Dr. Yvonne Thompson, and for over 40 years, I've been an activist, a game changer, and champion for social change through equality and diversity. I chaired the campaign committee led by Jack to erect the African Caribbean War Memorial in Windrush Square on Windrush Day, 22nd of June. The memorial gave a high profile to thousands of Black soldiers who went unrecognised, fighting for the empire across the world wars. Now, Jack campaigns for memorials to recognise nurses. Even though it was planned before, the pandemic makes these particular memorials statues even more urgent. So I ask you to support Jack and his campaign for recognising not only nurses, but in particular those of African Caribbean background. Remember, without nurses putting their lives on the front line, this pandemic could have been so much more worse. Please support the FundMe page. After all, everyone needs a nurse and everyone needs to be remembered.
My name is Dwayne Brown, and I work for Islington Council within our finance and resource team. I want to talk about the nurses that came here from African continent and the Caribbean. Let's remember, they uprooted themselves, leaving their lives, their livelihoods back home to come to this country to sacrifice and provide that sacrifice and that important work for this country.
My name is Gus John. I'm a professor of education and I am a patron of the Nubian Jack Community Trust. And one of the major projects the Trust has been involved with in the last period is acknowledging the contribution that Black health practitioners have made to delivering health services in Britain. And I trust that people would continue to support it, fund it. It should not be necessary for us as a trust to be scrambling and scratching our heads as to how we would get money to pay for that monument outside Whittington Hospital.
I'm Patrick Vernon, a social commentator, cultural historian, co-author of 100 Great Black Britons, but also I have worked for the NHS for a number of years. It's fitting and proper that we have this memorial, and it'd be really great to people to get behind this memorial to acknowledge the historical contributions of Black nursing in Britain.
Good afternoon, my name is Dr. Dorian Wilson.
I'm also a visiting professor of religion and multiculturalism, and I am appealing to you today as chair of the Nubian Jack Community Trust. It costs money to cut to the chase. It costs money to create, to design, and to bring to fruition these plants, these commemorative plants, and also statues. And they are just two examples of how the Nubian Jack Community Trust brings to life, in the physical form, the history and the legacy of our people.
Boom.
Wow. So there you have it. So I just want to give a shout out to Jackie, our chair. We've listened to Charlene, we listened to Paulette Lewis, we've listened to Joan Myers, we've listened to Betty White. Well, Betty White came and gave us a brief bit of sentiment. So hello, Mom, well done. Thank you so much for your contribution. Violet Hall, we've listened to Wendy. We've listened to so many nurses who've actually sacrificed for us. So there you are. And you've heard from the chair of the Nubian Jack Trust saying it costs money. So let's get to the chase. We've heard from Mr. Dr. Gus John saying we need to be doing this for ourselves. We shouldn't be scrambling around for finance for such an important and momentous legacy. So let's just get on with it and do it. Let's do it for ourselves. If we don't do it for ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to do it for us? So let's get on with it. Right, Pauline, what do you think of the events so far this evening? We're about to bring in a performance from, I believe, is it Myrtle Lane, which will be interesting. And we're going to look to wrap up the session with the wonderful piece that, the wonderful single that is meant to be showcasing this momentous statue that the Nubian Jack Trust will be erecting at Whittington Hospital later on this year. What do you reckon, Pauline?
We just get on with it, isn't it, Jack? We just need to make history.
Absolutely.
We just need to make history. Well, history's in the making, isn't it? So let's just get on board and make history together.
Yes. Can I just quickly say, Graham, I don't cut you, brother. It couldn't have been done without you. It must be understood, and everybody needs to know that we acknowledge, we salute you, we bow to you, Pauline, Sabrina, everybody at Black History Month, and Islington Council as well, because they have stepped up, Dwayne, as you, the money man. No, enough respect to them, enough respect to you and Pauline. Pauline, by the way, this all, I have to go back, this all happens when this wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful woman inboxes me at LinkedIn, this wonderful Pauline Foster there. Car without me and you now talking on my brethren, it wouldn't happen.
It was meant to be. The stars were in alignment. Yeah, that's what it was. Everything's been falling in place at the right time. It's just when you kind of think about how it's all come together, it's just like, you know, wow, there's something else happening here, really. You know, the energy is right.
Absolutely.
The energy is right.
My last comment, I just want to say, there is a high esteemed brother on the platform. His name is Aubrey Burke. It would be good just to get a couple of, you know, minutes from him, because he's amazing. He is phenomenal. And I know we're running out, but if we could give him just a couple of minutes, it would be in keeping with the spirit of the evening. Aubrey Burke, are you there?
Not a problem, Aubrey Burke. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
This evening has been a spectacle of a kind that I didn't believe we had it in us to put on such a spectacle. So, you know, to all of you on the stage, it's been wonderful. But I want to make another point. The NHS is under a lot of pressure. And it means, therefore, that it's not only patients coming in with COVID, we've been in excess. It's the nurses and doctors working with COVID and those who after COVID have to work with our troubled population. We need so much support, and we need that support for nurses and healthcare professionals. But it's our young people who need to see us as people that they can trust, that they can turn to, that they can believe in for being in it for them. So thanks a lot for this evening's performance. It's been tremendous. Thanks a lot, Jack.
Thank you, Aubrey. We'll see you again.
Thanks a lot, Jacqueline. Thanks a lot, Dwayne.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Appreciate you, definitely. So have we got Myrtle Lane in the room? You ready for your closing performance for attendees?
I saw her there earlier. Myrtle, it's your time, sis.
I think she's just trying to unmute.
Okay. Thanks again, Jacqueline, for brilliant hosting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Just thank you to all my colleagues behind the scene, Jenny, Miranda, Paulette, Dwayne, the whole team.
Yeah,
thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant job. Okay.
We got Myrtle in the room.
You're spotlighted, Myrtle, but is it popping up on your screen when we're asking you to unmute?
I might be able to unmute her myself, actually. Let me see.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Yeah, let me do that. Stop my video and go to participants and go to Myrtle. Myrtle, where are you, honey? Myrtle.
Right, so you should be able to unmute now, Myrtle. Would you like to try that again, please?
Yes. Ask unmute. Oops. Myrtle.
Can you see it popping up on your screen, Myrtle?
I can't unmute her.
No, all we can do is ask and she'll have to press the button.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Jack and Myrtle Lane, if you don't mind. I'm just going to swap around things. So we're just going to plug the single once again.
Yeah. We were seeing the program there, brother, which is fun.
I tell you what, Jack. When it's nice, we'll play it twice, okay?
You don't know the thing.
We don't know. This is how we do it, man. When it's nice, we do it twice, okay?
Shit. All right.
So have we managed to locate Miss Myrtle yet?
Keeping it real.
Have we managed to locate Myrtle yet?
Yeah,
no?
let Myrtle do her thing, and then we will drop the single. Myrtle,
is she available?
Okay, so she's here. She might have actually.
I think she dropped off the call and is going to try and come back in.
Right. Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Big up our massive our crew. As in the end. It is. How does it feel to finally be free?
Are we looking out there, Jack? Beautiful. So give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up, people. Come on. I would say to the African Caribbean, big tune. Inside the man called Jack and the choir. One time.
Some jerk chicken.
If you took the time, I have a song, yeah. So long, I've been searching someone that I'm probably not meant to find. No matter how hard it gets, no matter when the tears fall, nothing can stop us from trying. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. Some call me a villain, some me favor alien. Make me walk 1,000,000 miles to be free, just to make a living. I Stop the killing and spread a little loving, cause love is our winning. At the ends cause love conquers all. United we stand and divided we fall. A time when love is see at the time if we stand tall. May I look to one of you answer the call. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love. Someone to be. If you took the time, I have a song. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love. Someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. Watch this. Love is all we need. Love is all we need in the end times. 'Cause love conquers all.
Bring him back to life, Jackie. See there. Black nurses.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Powerful.
And there is a statue, people. There it is. And you'll see it in real life very soon.
Beautiful.
Enough respect to Evan Phillips, retired nurse. Rita Foster, I've had the pleasure of meeting this lovely lady.
Yeah.
Merita Lane, would have loved to hear from you tonight, hopefully here. And Lynette Richards, Lord. And I've had the honor of meeting Anna Robinson as well. Lovely, lovely lady. Cheryl Gregory.
Amazing. She's amazing.
There you go. So, Jack.
Final words, Jack. Final words. Over to you.
Final words is thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody who came on the platform. Thank you to all of you who made this possible. Thank you, everyone behind the scenes. And thank you, Jah Rastafari.
How fitting to end on those words. So, Pauline, what an amazing evening.
Indeed.
Maybe part two is appropriate. So, you know, Jack, that's something the community trust needs to look at. You've heard it. We've just hadn't have sufficient time to talk to hear or listen to all these wonderful individual human beings that's actually sacrificed for us, our people, and other people, essentially. Yeah. So part two perhaps is on the card. But
on the 30th. We'll do it on the 30th when we install the statue. We'll do it in the evening. Blow the thing up. Yeah.
Where's Myrtle?
As for me, it looks like she's not here, Shirley. She may be having some challenges with her system. But personally, I just want to thank everyone for actually taking the time out tonight to attend such a momentous evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've listened to some amazing individuals talking about their live experience, their live experiences. We've even heard some wonderful and some really, I would say, inspiring quotes from some of our nurses as well. In particular, Joan Mize, I like the quote. I like the quote from Pauline as well. Jack, you've dropped a few quotes in there as well too, so big up for that. So some wonderful quotes there. Some of them I'm familiar with as I'm from a Caribbean parentage. So yeah, it was just brilliant tonight. What's your take on it, Pauline? Foster, that is.
Yes, I mean, what more can be said? I think everything's happening for a reason, as it always does. It's just about getting it done, having it there as a legacy piece, and just to inspire future generations. you know, it's about that learning, it's about teaching, and I think these statues and commemorative statues will allow us to do that. The foot traffic that it's going to bring to Islington is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But in terms of what it represents, it's, you know, it's bigger than all of us. You know, it will be there when we're long and gone.
Yeah,
but it's really about providing that legacy so that the narrative can continue. We're rewriting the narrative in order to continue moving forward. So thank you very much for everyone attending. We look forward to seeing you soon. It's the 30th of July, so onwards and upwards.
Go get the book, because the book means a lot. It supports the statue. Go get the single. Jack, how much is the book?
It's £30 softback, £50 hardback, $49.99 and $29.99.
And individuals can get access to the book in the corner shops, the supermarkets. Where? Tell us.
They can pre-order it on our website now, nubianjack.org. Right now, nubianjack.org.
Great, there you go. And as for the single once again, how much is a single, Jack?
The single is actually 99p and 79p. You can get it from iTunes and Amazon.com and Spotify and all of those standard musical platforms.
So there you have it. Go out and get the single. Go out and get the book. Perhaps for a birthday present, a special occasion. Christmas is just around the corner, by the way. How fitting it is. Get the single. Wicked music. I'm sure no one can disagree with that. So there is from us tonight. Big up, thank you, calling my co-host Sabrina. Thank you for in the back end. Thank you, Keshwana. Thank you for all those who've actually Miranda. For everyone. Have I forgotten anyone, Jack? Forgive me. Jackie, absolutely wicked. And more importantly, want to thank all the speakers this evening. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing. Appreciate that. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you soon again.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well done. Bye.
We're reluctant to go. We had such a good time. None of us want to go.
We had so much more questions. Just not enough time.
There'll be other opportunities, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Big up our massive, our crew. Because in the end, love is all we need. How does it feel to finally be free? Wonder, will I ever know? Sometimes I dream of how it would be to have a life that I own. When you look at me, what do you see? Understand my story. All I want is love for someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song, yeah. So long, I've been searching for something that I'm probably not meant to find. No matter how hard it gets, no matter when the tears fall, nothing can stop us from trying. Oh, when you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. Some might call me a villain, some my favorite alien. Make me walk 1,000,000 miles to be free. Just to make a living and stop the killing and spread a little loving, cause love is all we need. At the ends cause love conquers all. United we stand and divided we fall. At time when we see at the time if we stand tall. May I look to one of you answer the call. When you look at me. What do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song.